Hey, yo, what's up? You're live here on the Wood Chipper podcast. Me, Evan here. I'm the one waving at you. Then you got Dakota over here. He's looking very uncomfortable. This is a channel we started. We're going to talk about some random stuff. How we doing out here?
Let us know how we sound. If we sound great, good, golden.
Yeah.
If we sound great, like and subscribe. Let us know.
We need a farm for those followers, okay?
Yep.
What's up, dude?
Sa.
What's up, dude?
What's up? So, I guess they probably already know what we're going to talk about with the music and everything.
Did you stop that, by the way?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I was going to say. Oh, man. So I guess we're going to do a full episode on aliens here, but before we get into it, how we doing? It's been a week.
Yeah, it's been a week. How's everybody doing?
I know there's a little bit of a lag between stream and
there's a latency. There will be for a little bit until I get a beefier computer.
It just happens, you know.
Mm-hmm. Deal with it.
Yeah. I know here it's been hot.
Yeah.
It's continuing to be hot. Oh my. Put some ice on it, bud.
Yep.
Put some ice on it.
Put some what? Oh, ice on it? Yeah.
Yeah, put some ice on it.
Oh, we're in color now!
Yeah, we're in color, dude. We're not in black and white anymore.
Yeah.
I can't believe y'all keep leaving and coming back. Stop doing
Suckers.
that. Hang out. Subscribe.
Subscribe. Like and subscribe. You want to so bad. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, you do. You know you want.
You're not as effective as I am. Alright, so let's just get into it.
Alright, you want to start with basics here?
Yeah, okay, so the basics. We're going to be talking about the different types of aliens that are known to at least us, or the conspiracy of the aliens. So, there's the Greys, which are the most common of the, I'd have to say among the encounters. That's really the only type that are, present in most of the things we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are, obviously, they're gray. And they have...
They're green skin, they're small.
They have the stereotypical, if you've ever seen a
big white eyes.
Yeah, with a big...
Humongous head.
Yeah.
Thin bodies.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be from the, Zeta... crap, I can't remember what it's called. The, Zeta... Reticula. I don't know how to say that. From the Zeta star system. I'll just say that. That's better.
That's a lot easier.
Mostly these aliens or the Greys. Man, that sounds very racist. We're stereotyping these aliens. They're the Greys.
Oh my gosh.
But they're involved with abduction stories. They're usually described as like emotionless beings, very intelligent, and communicate telepathically and do they're all about biology, I'd have to say.
Yeah, they do
medical experiments and stuff on people.
Yeah, a lot of the claims is medical experiments. They mess with your anatomy and just do tests.
That's where the story of probing comes from, is the Greys. So yeah.
Hey,
amazing.
Am I allowed to say it on stream?
No, don't say it. If you're questioning it, don't say it. God, it's hot in here.
Hydrate.
So then we're gonna move on from the Greys. We have the Nordics, which are like the Viking, the Norse gods and stuff. It's belief that they're they're more spiritual entities, more give you benevolent warnings and guiding humanity and stuff.
Right.
They're from another star system called the Pallades.
Pleiades.
Pallades. From the Pallades or another star system. They're usually peaceful. There's no real stories of them messing with people or abducting people, but they're more of described of like the protectors of Earth.
Right.
And stuff. They're more of a tall. They're more human-like with like blonde hair and stuff. So that's what like they think that it's like connected to Thor.
Yeah.
And all the other gods of the Norse mythology. I don't know if that's. It could be possible. I mean, it gives you another look on like the religion and stuff. Like maybe they're aliens. That's why, and that's why they're like mortal, is because they can die and everything. We're gonna move on to reptiles, the reptilians. They're more core-lined with I'd have to say government conspiracies.
Yeah, and
stuff
they're more
like
so
the lizards. Yeah.
They're more terrestrial than extraterrestrial. A
Yeah.
lot of them think they live under.
Like they believe they have the claim to the Earth. They're like, we were here first.
They could be tied to.
They're usually green, scaly, claw hands. Vertical slit eyes. They're reptiles.
Yeah, I've kind of heard the story about that they may be what the fallen angels were.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what they turn into. So yeah, once again, aliens could be tied to religion. Whatever you believe, dude. It's reptilians are more your conspiracy theory.
Yeah, they're like allegedly involved with like global takeover, control, mind manipulation, and secret governments, like kind of like the Illuminati and stuff, like we talked about episode 4.
Yes, absolutely.
But there's a lot of theorists that have talked about them, like David Icke, and I moved my mouse for some reason.
That's crazy.
But they're like supposed to infiltrate, the elite of the governments and the elite of like political issues and stuff. But other than that, we have the next one, which are like insectoids, which are like mantis-like creatures with like armored exoskeleton and very like large, they look like a praying mantis but humanoid almost, or if you can say that, there's different variations of these aliens and stuff, but they're supposed to be beyond our comprehension, which I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, if you play Helldivers.
The Terminids.
We kill the bugs. Kill the bugs in the name of democracy.
Yep. Aliens want a taste of freedom. We got you. They're more of like a telepathic but calm. Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, there's really no other way to describe them other than they're sometimes seen in the Greys, like with the Greys, like they're their boss or something. So I don't know if it's like a hierarchy thing, like the insectoids are better than the Greys or something, or what. But that's where they've been seen. They've been seen with a lot of encounters. I don't know if there's a whole lot of encounters that are logged with them being in it, but that's somewhere. And then there's the hybrids and others. Like the others they're more of a spiritual entity, or like energy and stuff.
Right.
An energy entity, if that makes any sense. Like beings of light, interdimensional travelers, like things that are not from our galaxy. And then you have the hybrids that are like allegedly alien and human DNA mixed, like some sort of, I don't know. They steal you and breed you.
I would almost call those more like your starseeds. Have you ever heard of
the starseeds, like the starseeds from like the Andromeda Galaxy and stuff like that. I know the Andromedans. The Andromedians? I don't know how to say it.
Starseed, it kind of like you're descended from extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yep, a hybrid, pretty much.
So.
But yeah, there's been a lot of stories of abduction and other sightings, like weird stuff happening, and we're gonna get into that this episode. We're gonna try to not talk about like films and books and stuff, but there are different conspiracies with that. I really want to touch up on like Bob Lazar and his instance with Area 51 in Nevada.
Dude, Bob Lazar is
goated,
dude. In the alien field, and the extraterrestrial UFO, or the other term for it is like UAP.
Yeah, the UAP.
Unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Yep.
or UFO.
Which that's the more common, or that's the more recent terminology for it. So I feel like that is a government conspiracy. They changed it so it's not as, UFO. Now it's a UAP, so no one knows what the hell they're talking about. But UFO is like tied to UAP.
Why did the title need to be changed? Everyone knows what a UFO is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. You could tell your 5-year-old. Don't try it. Tell your 5-year-old, ask him what a UFO is, and tell me what your child says. Why did the terminology need to change?
We want to know right now.
We want to know.
Right now.
For a shout out, okay. God. So why did we need to change the terminology? And also, we can get into it towards the end, is the frustration I have. He's clueless. That's crazy. But what frustrates me is the government has been talking for years now, dude. Like the past 5 years, about releasing the information on all of the known UFO, UAP, all the documentation, what the government has seized on their radars, because they have a bunch of instances where they bumped into them in the Air Force, and the government says they're going to release it, and they never release anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's videos of certain things. Only because my youngest gets scared of everything. Oh,
poor guy.
Poor dude.
But it frustrates me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it would me too. I mean, it does. It does frustrate me.
Let us know if it's real or not, And they say, well, they don't want to do it because mass hysteria, that the world is going to burn into chaos and anarchy because we found out there's some bug-eyed people floating around in space. No, I don't think there would be mass hysteria. I think the mass hysteria would be the government getting overthrown because some alien race is going to come in here.
Yeah, come in here and be like, hey, we can give you the secrets to infinite energy. And it's like, oh, well, all those people that invested in all the electric companies and stuff, they're like, well, shit.
Well, or have you seen what's happened to those people who make hydro cars?
Yeah, they disappeared.
Dude, they disappear.
They straight up disappeared.
Anytime you try to make an infinite energy source or something, you dare touch America's oil, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone. You're gone.
BP will come get you.
Yes, they will. BP is looking right at you, bud.
Yep.
Right at you. BP ain't playing. Now, should we get into some of these? So the people who are over here throwing their hat down, oh, you gotta be kidding me. They're talking about aliens.
Aliens.
Where's the evidence? Well, we've got what?
We got some stories to tell you.
20?
Yeah, 20.
22
stories of 20 different accounts, 22 different times of alien encounters, of what we're just going to be talking about. There's probably even more than just these, but these are just the some of the popular ones that have been brought up. So, yeah, we're going to be doing that.
So, I guess the big thing is, where the hysteria started.
Back in 1947, Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Roswell. We're actually going to get into it. So, the eyewitness testimony coming from Mark Brazel. He's a rancher out there in Roswell. And he's walked out into his field, and the story goes that he saw a big debris pile, and it was made out of thin, lightweight materials, kind of like a memory metal that couldn't be bent and it couldn't be burned, and it didn't look like anything of this earth. It kind of concerned them what was going on, so they called the military in, and they sent out an intel officer. His name was Jesse Marcel Sr. And he initially believed it was not of Earth, and the original postings too, because this went viral in the media, was that this was a UFO, this was alien.
Yeah.
And then the next day, all of a sudden, the news said that it was a hoax and that it was a weather balloon.
Yeah.
Something about aliens and weather balloons, dude. They like to change it up. They want to keep it under wraps.
Well, it's so funny. Like there's so many different accounts of like militaries, even around the world, just saying, "Oh yeah, there's aliens," and then it's, "Oh no, it was just a balloon of some kind that we were testing." Or
the old weather balloon
yeah.
excuse, just like we have the Chinese balloon over our heads for I don't know how long. That one.
I believe that one though. We saw a video of that, being like, "What is that?"
Oh my gosh, the Chinese weather.
Calling the F-16s, take them down.
But that same officer, he was later put under oath because this went to like court or something like that.
Yeah.
And they put him under oath, and he testified under oath that he was shown the debris and it had purple-hued hieroglyphics all over it. And then they were talking like the investigations. Once again, someone said it was a flying disc that quickly reclaimed to be a weather balloon, and the Air Force published a report. They were attributing it to Project Mogul balloon equipment. Not sure what that is. I'm guessing that.
Okay, so I know exactly what that is. That is so that was. Oh God, I can't remember.
Chew on that for a minute.
I'm chewing on my cheek. Part of anxiety. Let me think. Project Mogul was I can't remember if it was Russian or if it was for, it was something to detect nuclear testing. Russian nuclear testing, I think.
Oh.
So they said that, Project Mogul was a bunch of balloons that they would send up and it would, like, test to see if the Russians were testing nukes or something. And that's what they claim. That's what it was. But that was during, like, USSR. So the Soviet Union and stuff, when I think that was actually in Kiev.
Kiev?
Yeah, Kiev.
Which is the capital of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But also during this crash site, they said there were alien bodies.
Yeah.
And that they quickly took the bodies, and then out of nowhere the news changed it and said they were test dummies.
Yeah.
And people are like, no, we seen it. We seen it.
We saw.
We came, we seen it, and we saw. It's alien. I know, it's... But once again, the government did everything they could to shut it down. And then I think there was more...
Government cover-up, government conspiracy. You know how it is.
Yeah, government
cover-up. The Men in Black.
Yes, the Men in Black popping up, threatening people.
You keep talking about this. We'll watch your whole family eat supper.
This will be the last time you talk.
Yeah.
And you'll notice in these alien stories, just like the cryptid stories, the Men in Black are all over.
They're everywhere. They're always there.
I'm not talking Will Smith is walking around with the "you're gonna forget this" button. What did I say? But you know, the Men in Black that go threaten people. It happened here at Roswell. It happened to Bob Lazar.
Yeah, Bob Lazar. If you don't know the story of Bob Lazar, should I go and do a little bit about it?
Go ahead, because...
So, Bob Lazar, I do believe he was an engineer. And I think they made, like... or his first thing he made was like a rocket car or something like that, and he got noticed by the government, so they brought him in to check out these, like, to figure out how these work, these alien spacecrafts in Area 51. And he said there was like 12 different hangars, and each one they had 12 different types of ship-looking things, and he was partnered with, did he say Bob? Bob was his name? The dude that he was working with that was there before him.
I can't remember, but
his name was Bob. Let's just say his name was Bob. But they said that there was a type of power source that there were different teams split up. That there were like 17 teams or something.
Because wasn't it they were reverse engineering the UFOs?
Yeah, they were reverse engineering all of it, and they were they split them up into different groups, and they would only come together when they had like an important discovery that might correlate with, let's say, flying or weapon systems, or how they can hover, how fast they can go, life support systems, design, like, you know, all this other different things. And they'd like come together like, I want to say like once a week or once a month or something. I don't remember the whole story too well, so don't quote me on all of it. So I might be a little bit wrong, but yeah, they ended up. So his circle had like one or two people in it, like it was just him, and they were trying to figure out what the power source was and how to activate it. Well, they said it was based on gravity. Like there were these two rocks, or was it rocks or like squares or something, like circles, or I don't remember exactly how he described it, but he said there was this force that, imagine this water bottle is the thing that they could not get past. Okay, they could not get past, like right here, and for some reason, even though they tried getting close to this power source, they could not touch it when it was active. Like they could activate it, but they couldn't figure out like how it worked or how it was connected to the rest of the ship or anything like that. But they said they could, I forget, what was it, activating it by shooting like a charged ion or something at it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Like they could press two rocks together and do something with it, and it would create this bubble that was impenetrable for, I don't know, I think they said a certain amount of time. There is an interview with Bob Lazar that you could go search up and, you know, actually see. I think it's with Joe Rogan. So.
Is Bob Lazar still even alive?
Yeah, he's still alive, I think.
I thought he passed away.
No, but they ended up, how the ending of that story went was they said, oh, they're going to be testing these things in, like, Nevada. And they said that this whole base was, like, drilled into, like, some sort of cliff or big rock. And that's where the hangars were. They were disguised as rocks, and that you just couldn't see them.
Unfortunately, people still want to think Area 51 is still active. I think they've moved.
Oh yeah, probably.
I think now Area 51,
especially with the whole what was it? The group of people, the raid of Area 51.
Storm Area 51.
Yes.
They can't stop us all.
Yep.
They're definitely that's just the ploy. That's just the dummy base.
Yeah.
All the secret stuff is not there anymore. That's just the dummy place, so you keep going out there.
Well, yeah, I think if you even look at, like, where it is on, like, Google Maps, it's all blurred out for one. And now it's like, oh, they're just testing military aircrafts there now. Like, it's just an aircraft base.
No dang aliens crashing anytime soon.
Yeah.
You got nothing to do now. But going back to Roswell, there's so much debate whether it's true or not, because the government, the biggest thing is when the CIA wants you to not believe something, they'll do counterintelligence.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do everything to spin the story to make it sound like a load of crap.
Yeah.
And that happens with a lot of movements in the United States. Like, you'll hear something crazy, next thing you know, you're hearing something completely off the wall. And it just keeps you... Basically, there's a documentary on Netflix called, the Octopus Cases or something like that. And pretty much what it is...
I don't know. I've never heard that.
it pretty much what it is about the CIA doing counterintelligence and spinning to put everyone on a rabbit trail
Yeah.
They think something happened, and then it ends up being a rabbit trail, and it's the CIA the whole time messing with everyone's head, trying to do everything it can to get people off their trail and what they're actually doing. And that's pretty much what that show's about, but it's not about aliens. So there's a lot of credible witnesses. These people swore to the day they passed away. I can't say the other word because I don't know if it's going to get censored, so I'll say passed
probably.
away. So they are so credible and strong witnesses, and they never change their stories as the years goes on. They keep the same story, but the government once again continues to deny it.
Are they even still alive? I mean, that happened in 1947.
A lot of them are dead now. I'm pretty sure almost anyone tied to the case now is gone, if I remember correctly.
Sad.
Unfortunately, I think the last one died a couple years ago, so it hasn't been long. But all of them kept the same story pretty much, and it's what started the alien hysteria. It started everyone going out to Arizona and to New Mexico and all those places in that area around the desert there.
And this is when we think the stuff happened. I feel like there's even more before that. Like there's the ancient Mayans said that there were sky people that were coming down and they were blue.
But I'm talking about more of your USA hysteria.
Yeah.
Because after this is when you saw the people having the RVs and stuff going out watching the sky in the middle of the desert. So that's what started it.
Actually, that's another thing. That's how Bob Lazar got fired.
Yeah.
Was he went out with a bunch of friends and drank and everything, and they saw this craft fly around and stuff because they were testing it with a pilot or some kind, or I don't know exactly, but they were testing maneuvers and stuff, and then they went back, and then they were like, all right, packed up, went away, came back. The next time they went and did it, they were greeted by a bunch of military. Like, there was just some dude that walked out of the darkness, and then all of a sudden their whole area got lit up with light, and we're like, hey, we found you, what are you doing out here? And
they threatened Bob Lazar a couple times. They threatened to make him disappear, unalive him. They threatened him multiple times.
And they said that his phones were tapped, and you could tell by, what was it, when you hear your phone, if you want to know, there's white noise if you're talking to someone. There's going to be white noise, but if you're thinking someone has tapped your phone constantly, if you put your or what is it the microphone or the speaker?
I think it's the microphone.
I can't remember. It's either the microphone on the bottom and the speaker on top, or the microphone right here and the speaker in here, because I think there's two. But something with that, if you hear white noise and you're not doing anything on your phone, like a call or something, you're more than likely your phone's either listening to you or it's been tapped. That's what I know about it. So
yeah, there's many instances like that. But no, now there's a festival in Roswell every year. They call it the Roswell Fest. They throw a giant rager over aliens, dude. Get messed up. But that's really where the American, obsession started. Now, there's definitely alien stories before that.
Yeah.
I mean, you get, like you said, ancient Mayans, Incans, even Native Americans talk about it. The sky people, and
white nose on a speakerphone? Oh, noise.
So, but that's what started the hysteria. And now we've had this hysteria, and there's been many credible stories ever since. I'm going to get into it real fast. It's going to be a little deep. And that's Betty and Barney Hill. That is one of the most famous abduction stories.
Okay, so we went from 1947 to 1961, New Hampshire, USA.
Yep, that'll be September 19th, 1961 in New Hampshire, USA.
I think this is one of the most interesting stories.
Yeah, it is.
Because they both passed lie detector test. And
there's proof in their clothing and stuff like that. No, I think, what was it? They were out for dinner or something. They were on a date or something like that. And they were coming home, and something stopped them. And they just noticed something flying above them or something like that. And they said they got out of the car, and a white light appeared and sucked them up. you know, your typical alien movie. Just suck you into the sky and then gone. And then they disappeared for, what, a couple days?
No, it was just, like 2 hours.
I couldn't remember if it was days or hours, but they disappeared, and when they came back, they had already found the car abandoned, like, police found the car abandoned and stuff because they didn't return. People were concerned, so there was a search out for them. And then they come back, and their clothes are tattered and destroyed. These were spewing these crazy stories that they were sucked into the sky. I think she, Betty, if I remember, was talking about she could remember bits and pieces of what happened when she was on the ship. Like, she remembers them cutting pieces of her clothes off and stuff like that, and taking samples of, I'm guessing, DNA and other stuff like that. And I think this was one of the first times where they really started describing the Greys.
Yeah.
But they were undergoing exams. Sorry, I'm kind of reading to make sure I get this information right, so I am kind of looking at my phone. It says something about a cup-like device placed over the genitals. Yeah, so they must have been doing reproductive experimenting.
Which there's a lot of that.
Yeah. And they started, you know, they went to therapy, and, like, they took them in to get their statement, put them on a lie detector, no lies detected. They found the clothes, and it had the samples taken out of them. And
like
they tried to
torn triangles and stuff.
Yeah, and they tried to do testing on it, and they found some interesting non-human DNA on it, I believe, and some other stuff like that.
Like radiation and stuff.
Yeah, they found a lot of stuff like that on there, and there's nothing in New Hampshire like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy what happened. If you really want to know more, like I said, we're talking about it in a podcast sense, but there's so many documentaries about this. If you went to YouTube or any streaming service and you searched, you'd probably find something. I'm just giving you a quick little rundown so we can talk about it. But they even put her through, what was it? Mind control or whatever. Hypnosis. And it still got the same thing.
The only sad part is, since they did that, now people are saying that, oh, that's what created it. Like, they were hypnotized to have those ideas and have those thoughts.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because I think maybe that's just a cover-up. That's just, government conspiracy cover-up.
They try to throw things around to get people to not believe it,
Yeah.
And there's so many I think there's I believe, and this is not the only abduction case I don't think we're going to talk about. There's going to be more abduction cases, and they're going to be, the similarities are kind of crazy, like how, like you said, you're going to talk about that Travis
Walton abduction.
Yeah, the Travis Walton abduction here in a little bit, and there's no way this dude was sitting on the internet. What happened to Betty Hill and Barney Hill, and we're just gonna copy everything they say, blah blah blah. No, it's not like that. I personally don't think so, and there's many instances where it could be fraud. We could be totally wrong, but you never know. I tend to believe in aliens. I kind of have my own little UFO story I have not talked about before.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Ooh. Some untold secrets from Evan.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool. I was the only one who's seen it.
Fake.
Fake.
Fake news.
There was like 5 people in the car with me and nobody seen it. It was kind of crazy.
Dang.
But no, we can take I believe I'm going to get into the more conspiracy theory of why, because a lot of people are going to be like, why were they abducted? Personally, I think the Greys. Put on your tinfoil caps, guys. This is a belief that I believe in. You can believe whatever the heck you want. Put your tinfoil cap on. But I personally think the Greys are so genetically mutated. Like, they've gone through so much, testing. They've done that they were finding ways. Kind of like if you've read the book of Enoch in the Bible, how the sons of God laid with the daughters of men. That's one of those type of deals. They're trying to find a way to spread out their gene pools by doing DNA manipulation and stuff, and that ties also into, like I said, tinfoil cap here. That ties to even what the Anunnaki did back in the time of the Sumerians.
Well, there's a story about the, gosh, I can't remember. It's the reptilians and the Anunnaki fighting amongst each other. Like, they were the ones that drove them underground into the first place.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of either appeared or...
we were genetically created. If you believe what the Sumerians said, we were genetically created by the Anunnaki. And we were meant to, because Earth, I guess, was so full of gold. Like, this was they called it a gold planet or something like that. Yeah. Don't know how true this is, because...
There's barely any gold left today or something.
Yeah, I don't know how true this is, but this is what the Sumerians say, first ancient empire. And they were in the
Mesopotamian
area over there by the Middle East. So they think we were a slave race, and we were there to harvest gold and stuff. But they did a lot of genetic manipulation with humans. They messed with the DNA, and I think that's kind of what the Greys are doing. Some people even want to say that maybe the Greys are part of the Anunnaki.
Now here's a theory. What if we were put here and genetically modified, and that's maybe why we go to war so often, or we have fights and stuff, was because that's in our DNA now. We're supposed to keep the reptilian creatures at bay and underground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's an interesting theory. I mean...
Definitely.
I don't know if anyone's ever said that before, but...
I've never heard it stated, but...
I mean, that makes sense. If we were genetically modified and they left us here with them damn things underground, that would be, give us the knowledge, or not give us the knowledge, but make it so, they now have a fighting chance if they show back up, and that's where that might be where the whole, they've realized we've been changed by the Anunnaki or something, and that's why they're trying to get into politics and stuff so they can keep the weapons that we have made. Something like that.
I personally believe that there are some people that if there was a case for aliens, look at those people and you're like, that's a freaking alien.
Yeah. Isn't there live broadcasts that have had
Mark Zuckerberg, dude.
Yeah, where they look. I don't know if it's fake or not, but yeah, this was way before. I don't want to say it's way before AI, but
it was before AI.
Yeah,
it was. I remember seeing in high school the videos of Mark Zuckerberg with the reptile.
Yeah,
eyes,
he blinks normally, and then his eyelids close like this instead of like this.
Yeah, and you can see the cat-like pupil. You know how the cats have the long pupils. They did that and stuff.
Does Khajiit have wares for coin?
Yeah. So and then personally, have you ever seen Elon Musk without a shirt on, dude? That looks like a skin suit.
No, I haven't.
Maybe he's just that out of shape, but bro, it looks like a skin suit. I'm not kidding. So there's another one right there. You got Elon Musk. You got Zuckerberg. There was a story. This one could be fake. About Miley Cyrus, I guess. There was a video of her playing a concert. Someone's recording. She looked down and the lizard eyes popped out, dude. It was...
I think I remember seeing that, actually.
So, there are personal figures. I think, the reptilians and stuff are hiding in our governments, dude. And, and I think, I don't necessarily... This is just kind of off my head what information I have, but I think the Anunnaki created us for the purpose of what purpose we were created for, which was back then probably mining gold. But then they saw a different potential in us and let us be our own thing.
Maybe.
That could explain the God theory. I don't know. But
The aliens just built the pyramids.
yeah, well, how the heck did they move that stuff? I think ancient technology is more advanced than anything we could ever imagine.
I mean, if you think back to like what Bob Lazar said about the whole gravity engine and stuff, that's very possible. It's very plausible, and just like, oh yeah, how they get sucked up and stuff, like that could just be explained by them, you know, a beam of gravity in there. It's like, oh, neutral gravity, so now it's going up instead of going down. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of different things.
Well, like, if you look... Sorry, we're getting a little off topic, but that's because the theories are playing in our heads. I've watched enough episodes of Ancient Aliens. So, like, have you ever looked at the original designs of, like, pyramids?
No.
Did you know they used to have gold tips on the top?
Yeah, I heard something about that, but I don't know too much about it.
You know, it's very conductive to electricity.
Yeah.
They're beginning to believe that pyramids were built to conduct electricity.
Maybe.
And that there was a theory that the Anunnaki showed them how to do it. It's crazy stuff like that, but I believe it because if you look at the way the pyramids set up, how the tunnel chambers and stuff go, it almost looks like a giant battery. Like the tip of
the tunnels underneath the pyramids?
Yeah, it looks like the tip, and then there's like some sort of corridor that goes straight down.
With like, isn't there like 4 chambers on each side of this corridor?
Yeah, and then it like
so it's like a big old battery pack almost.
Yeah, it like opens up, and it looks like a giant battery, and they also.
There's a recharge station for that. Ooh, it could have been like a recharge station for their ships or something.
Yeah, it could have been. You know, this is just us playing with the tinfoil hat here.
Screw your solar power. We're making you build it for us.
But there's many stories like that, and I want to explain why there's pyramids all over the world, dude. You know,
there's
like
ziggurats, a bunch of different things. Like in South America, there's what is it? The Mayans? Not Mayans.
The Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incans. They all have prehistoric like pyramid things, and no one can figure out what the heck they're for. You know, it just it interests me, but it kind of plays into the theory that maybe that we have been influenced the whole history of humanity through what would be considered extraterrestrial influence or terrestrial influence from the reptilian race, whatever. And dare I say, and I could be wrong, but I'm tinfoil caps here, boys. You're gonna hear this come out of my mouth, and some of you who know me are gonna jaw hit the floor. It might explain the God thing. It might explain religion. It might explain some of that stuff.
I mean, it explains the Norse gods and stuff with like the Nordic aliens and stuff like that, where some of them come down and they have different abilities, and it's like, whoa.
Well, okay. It's kind of like.
Like, what if the Greys are just the frost giants?
Well, let's be honest.
Oh wait, the Greys are small.
Let's be honest here. The term angel, it's a title.
Yeah.
It's not the race. The term angel stands in the word in Hebrew. It means messenger. There's a messenger coming down from heaven.
The sky.
To tell somebody something and then leaves.
Yeah.
You could be technical here if you want to get scientific. That's extraterrestrial. They don't belong to Earth.
Jesus was just a splice of alien DNA and human.
Oh my gosh.
That actually kind of makes sense. It really does. There are...
Are you talking about Alien versus Predator? We're being hunted.
Do we think there are aliens like Yautja and Xenomorphs? No, I don't think there is. Maybe. I mean...
Yeah, there could be
and like...
Tribe. I mean...
Like an older... Like, I don't think there's any stories of, like, the reptilians... like hunting us or anything. Like, it's more of like slaves and stuff, but like that's, you know.
And once again, that could tie to the demons, you know. I still have my own personal beliefs, but sometimes, you know, you wonder. Like, technically, an angel is an extraterrestrial. It's not of Earth coming down here to give us a message and then leaving. You know how many stories in, like, the Incan, the Mayan, the Native Americans, the indigenous tribes say they have sky people come down, give them a message about something, and then leave?
Yeah.
And it's constant.
There's actually, oh gosh, there is a story that I can hop to real quick. And it was in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I can't pronounce the school of what it's called, but it's Rua, Zimbabwe in 1994. There was, like, September 16th, 1994, there was, during, like, recess, while the kids were out playing, there were 60 plus of them that had seen this thing land, and, like, these grays came out, which each one of their encounters, or each one of their stories, correlate. So, can you imagine getting 60 plus some odd students or school children to say the same? Yeah, say they were like 6 to 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like 6 to 12-year-old witnessed a silver flying saucer like thing land next to their school, and the beings came out and communicated telepathically, warning of Earth's environment, like telling them about, like, the planet destruction and environmental harm and technological misuse and stuff, like implanting seeds of fear into these kids. Like, you gotta learn this stuff and figure it out. Deuces. But they were investigated by a like, there was a doctor that came, John something, I can't remember, John Mack, and he was a Harvard psychiatrist, came out and he said, all these kids, they're like, there's no delusions, there's nothing like that. He's interviewed dozens of them and found they're, like, emotionally sincere about everything, like, you know, this is right, and there were drawings, and each one of these, like, 60 plus students drew the same thing, or drew damn near to the same thing, and they still stick to these stories 30 years later. So if that doesn't tell you, you know, anything, like, and all of them have been, there's interviews of the BBC, this CBC, and there's a recent documentary called, it's the place that the school, it's what the school is called, Ariel, or Uriel phenomenon, and yeah. I think Heliouch only hunt top game, not defenseless. Maybe, I have no idea. They could be real. Definitely. Like, there's that one thing, like, things cannot be thought of. Like, you can't come up with something. You have to have seen a variant or a version of whatever beforehand.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's be honest here. I'm going to veer off just a little bit. You know, it's the same thing where you say nothing can be thought of it. Has anyone watched Star Trek? You know, that they had guns that were rail guns, and now rail guns exist.
Yeah.
Now they had transponder watches where they could talk on their watch. We've got Apple Watches now. You know, like,
next is Beam Me Up, Scotty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would love to be beamed to my girlfriend's house, but I'm joking. But
she said, "Hey, my parents aren't home. Beam me up, Scotty."
Beam me up, Scotty. But
that is great. That is great. So, can we make a T-shirt out of that? It just says, "GF says parents aren't home. Beam me up, Scotty."
Dude, that'd be great. First merch right there.
That would. I would love that.
But no, there's so many instances of that where, like, there's other movies, not just Star Trek, where, like,
yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah, like, obviously we're keeping it to real content here, but where did they think of that crap? You had to see it.
Is there any actual stories of George Lucas having, like, experiences or something like that? Like, what's his...
Yeah, what is George Lucas's thing?
I have no idea. I could look
Creepy
it
old
up.
Spielberg in his ear or something.
Maybe. I have no idea. I'm not going to look it up right now, but...
Someone
Someone look it up for me. Yeah, someone look it up for me. Did George Lucas have any sort of alien experiences that he... Maybe not. Maybe he just didn't feel comfortable telling about it, and...
But, you know, it's so cool.
It's like the story of... what's it called? Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas, where they suck up Kevin Bacon. And that's what they did with George Lucas. They're like, "Come on, George, we're gonna go see the stars."
We're just sucking Kevin Bacon in his face, bro. No, let's go get George. Maybe that's why Spielberg is such a nut, dude.
Maybe he makes good movies.
He makes great movies, but dude, Spielberg is a nut.
Didn't he make The Shining?
Spielberg, I don't know. No, that was Stephen King.
No, I know it was Stephen King that came up with the story, but I think Spielberg was the one that, like, directed it.
Right,
he was the
where's my
director.
horror nuts at? Where are you hiding?
Yeah, where you hiding?
You need to speak
Tell
up.
me this stuff. We need this in chat right now. We need information.
Who directed The Shining? We need to know that.
Go yell at Adeline.
Your fiance, go yell at her.
Yeah. But the weird thing about that Ariel school encounter was there were no adult witnesses, and they were too young for it to be a hoax. Like, there were too many, and they were describing everything consistently to a T. Like, each one of them was like, oh yeah, it had red lights on it, or it had blue lights in this place, this place, this place. There was a glass dome on the very top. I don't know if that's what they were saying, but, you know, that's what the remarks are, was that they said the exact same thing. There were 60 plus of them. They were ages between 6 and 12, and they were like, you know, it was during recess. They saw all these things.
Yeah,
that just makes me think, you know, those adults didn't see it. Like, there's some things, like, you know, to not be a hater or anything, like, why didn't any of these adults see this? Were they just sitting in class? Like, where were the teachers?
Yeah, where were the teachers at,
Yeah,
bro?
You know, in Zimbabwe, so that's like, what, bottom of Africa?
About
Mid-Africa?
Near Congo. Not in Congo, but around that area, the Congo.
Yeah, so around that area, there's what, lions and everything in Africa, and
well, I guess it depends. I mean,
yeah, it really
depends. Because
some of it's like very not, you know.
Some of it, actually, a lot of Africa, as much as say the U.S. media wants to portray, is like the United States.
Yeah. It's just the bad parts of it, or the less rich parts, the more poorer parts.
Yeah, for some reason get very dramatized, but
yeah.
Obviously,
like Mexico, put that orange filter on me, boys. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they do. They, in like Breaking Bad, every time they go to Mexico, they have the bright orange filter, and it's like, that's not how Mexico actually looks.
Oh, yeah.
It's not all orange and stuff. It's like, you know, normal sky, normal day. It's just hot.
So, like, let me take us to a spot. We're going to go back to the Cold War.
Back to Russia.
We're going to the USSR.
So when top athletes go missing or high-profile targets, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree.
Maybe. And they just appear one day and they're all, faces all messed up.
Where was that?
Sorry guys, let me fix my face.
Where was that message at?
It just popped up.
Oh, I don't have it yet.
Well, then that means you're behind.
Was that Dalton?
Yes.
Oh, nice. But no, we're gonna get into USSR. So, you want to talk about aliens kind of coming in and warning people about things?
Yeah.
This one is going to be wild, because it almost killed us all.
Yeah. Or it could have caused the... Was the, you know, mutually assured destruction If you don't know what this is the whole thing in the world where MAD is the protocol to follow. So if one country launches, it's mutually assured destruction. Everyone's screwed. Everyone's screwed. No one's safe. If you launch a nuke, they're going to launch nukes everywhere across the globe.
Yep. So, in 1982, obviously USSR was still around. Soviet Russia.
Yep.
It was heavy Soviet Russia at that time because the Soviet Union dissolved to 95 or 94 or something like that.
I can't remember exactly when it was.
It was in the 90s. But we were very much in the Cold War still. Because the Cold War really didn't technically end until the USSR dissolved.
No matter what Black Ops 6 tells you, it's still going on.
So what happened was there was these guys, don't know who they are, were sitting at the USSR nuclear missile silos. They were watching the cameras and missile silos. And then afterwards, it disappeared, and the missile silo started to activate like it was going to shoot a nuke.
Yeah.
And
did it have a target? Usually
no.
they have to have targets, or if they don't have a target, I think they just go straight up, don't they?
And they said that...
Oh my gosh, it's like GTA 5, or GTA, they're trying to take that nuke up to space so they can study it.
But the launch countdowns, they began to go off without authorization, and an absolute panic ensued because they're trying to cancel this.
Yeah. Which they have to have permission from, the higher-ups in order to
and then out of nowhere, after 15 seconds after this started, it just stopped and canceled. It was nothing they did. It just stopped. So literally it was about 15 seconds, and if they wouldn't have stopped, the Wood Chipper podcast would be the Nuclear Winter podcast.
No, we wouldn't even be alive if it happened, because it happened, in 19...
Yeah, our parents would be sterile.
Yeah.
So, once again, just like the United States, the Russians, obviously, doing everything they can to dismiss this. They were tripping. They had too much vodka. They drank too much. And
this isn't the only instance of Russia having alien encounters, is it?
No, it's happened a few more times. But this is one of the most famous ones because this is about got us all killed.
Yeah.
But once again, they tried. I obviously know Men in Black because they're in Russia, so probably had a KGB agent.
It was the black van with the white hoods, or the black hoods that they jump out and grab your ass.
Yeah, KGB. I'm going to wipe you off the face of the earth.
You will not talk about this.
Yeah, you got 5 seconds or family's gone. It just and they had more stuff go on. But why is an alien appearing above a nuclear silo?
Yeah.
That's gotta be a warning, you know.
Do we have any accounts here of them doing it here in America?
If they do, it's not very known.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Or they were probably like, no, let's not do that because, we don't want to mess with America and their nukes. Let's not mess with their stuff. Let's go with the, second hand.
They'll give us a taste of freedom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I feel like if they had popped up above an American nuclear silo, or, silo.
Turn them into Swiss cheese.
Yeah, it'd be. You know what I mean? They got you.
Some dude eating crayons is about to erase their existence with bullet holes.
Yeah.
But no, they said there was a lot of whistleblowers, declassified documents and stuff. That's why this is very known. But, they could have, some people say it was confused with secret tech because the U.S., one other thing is, they got secret tech, they don't tell anybody about it,
Yeah.
You don't want the world knowing what the heck you're doing in the basement of Area 51.
Yeah.
But, Or that because,
They're creating that dope-ass sound system from Aliens versus Monsters.
Dude, yes. Well, let me think here. I had a good train of thought, and I just... all the way over there.
What is it, Evan? Tell us.
Oh, man, I'm losing it. Oh, yeah. So, you want to know something that's really messed up, and this will scare people?
Hmm.
You know what our nuclear systems run off of?
What?
Floppy disks.
Probably not. Well, I don't know, man. We don't
They
know a
do.
whole lot about our nukes anymore. Like
They
they continued to make nukes after the atom bomb. So, and we don't know how those work.
Unless the government is just keeping us under
Unless
lock and
we're
key.
stupid and we just don't look it up and know.
Yeah, unless they keep it under lock and key. Our last I knew is that is a 2-key system. You have to have 2 people to initiate the launch.
Yeah.
And it's off of a floppy disk. It's ran off of floppy disk software. Because
Maybe
it's
so.
well, it's because it's unhackable.
Yeah, it's unpenetrable.
You can't hack a floppy disk. But that is so scary that we are using archaic technology.
Windows XP is in charge of all the nuclear stuff. Oh my gosh. At least it's not Linux.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not Linux. Sorry, Linux. It's got AOL dial-up, dude. Gotta launch a new...
What's the code? I don't know. Put it on that phone right there. Ding, 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 ding.
But why is an alien over a missile silo? Well, one, because maybe it was trying to take, like you said.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole environmental danger thing. It's like, you keep doing this, you're gonna meet the wrath of God.
Well,
Don't do it.
Well, let me tell you. Have you watched the movie Oppenheimer?
Yes.
So if you watched Oppenheimer, this was true. Was that they tried to calculate what would happen if an atom bomb would go off.
Yeah, and they thought that it would ignite the atmosphere.
atmosphere,
That was with Einstein.
Yes, that was real. That wasn't just them playing in a dramatization of. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's real because of the way the world has been. It technically did ignite the atmosphere because now we use it as a threat for everything. We use it. Someone touches your cornflakes in the United States, and then we're like,
Not my corn.
not my corn. I'm going to bomb your country. It's the same way in the Middle East right now, dude. I don't want to get into the politics of the Middle East right now, but you see what's going on there. They're threatening to shoot nukes right now. Russia's threatened us a couple times in the past 5 years of shooting nukes at us.
Which have we seen? Which I know there's recent alien sightings like of this year.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find them.
Yeah,
I completely forget what they were.
You said there was one in September of 2024.
There's one in 2025 too.
Yeah.
I don't have them anymore. I don't have
Oh,
them
you didn't save those ones? That's crazy.
Dang.
But there's still alien stuff. I've seen what I saw. It was 2019 or 18 when I saw what I saw. It was weird, dude. You know what? While you're like looking here for a second, I had a weird experience. I was driving at like it was 1, 2 in the morning. I was coming back from Fort Wayne. I think I was like doing what a typical teenager that just graduated high school would do, and that was
Driving around, shooting the shit.
yeah. I had a couple buddies with me. I know you don't like the dude, but Napora, he was with me, and we were going down US 3, headed north, and I look up and there's this glowing thing going down the road with us, and it was keeping up with us. And then when it noticed I looked, it shot off, and it was gone. And I was like, I just sat there. I think I had a hat on my head because if you know me well, I was always wearing a hat. It's been until recently where I don't wear a hat all the time. Like I used to constantly wear hats.
As you're wearing a hat right
As
now.
I'm wearing a hat right now, mainly to cover up my messy hair. And I swear I threw my hat, and they're like, "What?" I said, "Dude, I swear I just seen a UFO." And I was like, I didn't even hide about it. I was like, they're like, "Dude, are you been smoking?" I said, "Dude, I've been with you the whole time. I'm not been smoking." I just so I seen this thing shooting down a highway. It was weird. It's like I was keeping up with us, and then I look up, and it was like, and it was gone. It was like 2 in the morning. Anyone in the chat seen aliens? And I'm not talking about yourself in the mirror.
That is bad. That is bad.
I'm sorry.
You can't say that.
I'm joking.
That's so bad, Evan. Jesus. Let's get back into it. Actually, do we want to take a quick break here?
If you'd like, we could go on a quick intermission.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a quick intermission. You want to keep talking, and I go, or
I probably
both.
gotta pee.
All right.
Probably both go.
We'll be right back. All right.
We're going a lot longer today than we did last week, so don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic. We will be back, and it will be quick. Just get us some refill on drinks and everything.
Yeah.
All right. Be right back. And we're back. Thank you for staying with us.
We're refreshed. We've had a constant 5 viewers, and I'm digging it.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Wish there was more action in chat. You can see it up on the screen when you type.
Yeah.
We love chat interaction.
Yeah. Unlike other podcasts, we want to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's why we do this live instead of just pre-record.
Yeah. It all gets posted straight to YouTube after we end the stream. So if you want to tell someone about it or recommend it and be like, hey man, watch this podcast, it'll be there. And you'll know it by, what is it, a UFO for this episode?
Yes.
And last episode it was a Illuminati symbol or something.
Yes, you put the Illuminati symbol
on. Right on the back of the dollar bill. What were we talking about?
We just finished up the Russian missile silo crisis.
Okay, at least the first one.
Yeah, but we're not even gonna get into the second one.
Okay, we won't get into the second one.
No.
But I do want to jump back up onto another topic of if any of you guys have ever heard of the Phoenix Lights. Do you guys know what that is? Please talk to me.
I don't want to seem mentally out of touch.
Yep. Has anyone here heard of the Phoenix Lights? No? Okay. So this happened in 1997 in Arizona. There is a detailed account of time, and I will be reading that off. March 13th, 1997, around 7:55 p.m., a formation of lights in a V shape was first reported near Henderson, Nevada. By 8:30 to 9:30, the formation was seen moving slowly across the skies above Arizona. Later that night, another group of lights appeared near Phoenix. These were claimed to be military flares dropping during training. Does anyone else not believe that at all? Because there actually was a governor that did see all this. I don't remember what his name was, but there is a governor that he initially he mocked it, and then later admitted that he actually saw an object and believed it to be otherworldly. And there was hundreds of civilians across the state that saw it. They said it looked like a big, giant, black, silent boomerang. And it just moved slowly, and you could see it because it blocked out stars and stuff. And there was, no sounds, nothing. It was just silently floating. Have you ever seen the movie, Nope?
I have not.
So there is I guess it's not in a ship, but it's more of an alien creature. And it's, super quiet. You can't even hear it when it flies around in the movie. And it's a great movie. Recommend you go watch it. It's made by, what's his name? Key and Peele. One of them, Key or Peele. I can't remember which one is which, but yeah, they directed the movie, I think.
Those dudes are hilarious.
Oh yeah, I love them.
Dude, they're hilarious.
They are. There actually was a couple videos of it, but there was no central structure. That's where the debate started leading. There was nothing on radar, at least for the airport towers that are around there. And they said that the USAF claimed that there was a second event, or that the second event was a A-10 Warthog, which if you don't know, A-10 Go Burt, dropping these illumination flares over the Barry Goldwater Bridge, or Goldwater Range, but it doesn't explain the V formation. I mean, I guess if you see him go straight, Jordan Peele, yeah. If you see an A-10 going straight up and shooting flares, I guess you could say it goes into a V-shaped formation because it goes boom, 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 and if you've ever seen flares being dropped, you know exactly how it looks. but it's weird that they said that it was in a constant V formation instead of it going out, and then usually they eventually go into a straight line leading to a triangle to the aircraft.
Yeah, and that's where isn't that where the Angel of Death thing comes from?
Yeah, they're the I think it's a B-2
bomber or something. Yeah, they shoot off a bunch of flares and they call it the Angel of Death because it looks like a death angel.
No, actually, I think it was like a Boeing 747 that they used.
Oh, sure.
If I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but that was the one with the big old military gun. The whole lower half of the plane was just filled with like ammunition and stuff.
Yeah, they call it the Angel of Death.
But the theories is that it was just a massive craft with advanced stealth tech, and it was a military aircraft, or it was extraterrestrial conducting a low flyover. Which, who knows? Here, hold on. Who knows? Oh, I don't have this playing. Hold on. Who knows? Aliens. But I would like to hop topics to the next encounter that we have on our list. Travis Walton.
Dude.
Travis Walton is a great story, and this is in Arizona also.
Don't trust Arizona, people.
Yeah, don't go to Arizona. But instead of it being like 1997, we're going back to 1975, Arizona. So way before the incident I just talked about. It happened November 5th, 1975. His story sucks so bad. Like, it's not... It doesn't suck in like, oh, it's like, you know... It sucks as a story. It sucks because of what happened to this guy. So I do believe he was part of a logging crew. This much I know. He was part of some sort of crew that was driving down the road, and they all saw these like lights or something, and they got out, went to investigate, and there was this like, I want to say it was like a sound or something, but he was like shot with like a beam of light and like flew back into a tree or something, and the 6 or 7 guys he was with just went peace out and ran away and left his ass there. So after that, was he, because they picked him up, the aliens picked him up, or so they say. He was picked up. Yeah, it was 6 crew members that, and they all passed the polygraph test, all 6 of them. And I think they also did a polygraph on Walton himself, and he straight up was like, yeah, there was something there, and it shot me, and I woke up inside the ship, and, like, I guess he walked out and was, like, walking around, and there were, like, people, astronauts. That's how he described them, I think, where there was astronauts, and then there were gray-like humanoids that were kind of small that had blue spacesuits. And then they had, like, American astronaut suits or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. But,
E.T. and Friends.
Yeah, he was missing for 5 days. 5 days, and then he said he woke up and was walking into town. And that's where they found him or something. He was like walking around like, what the hell happened? And he showed signs, during the medical exams, he showed signs of trauma and dehydration and starvation. There were no drugs and no alcohol in his system, and he took a polygraph test, which all 7 of them had passed. There's actually a movie that's called Fire in the Sky, or a story, at least. That's what the story is called, is Fire in the Sky, which is a very dramatized version of the story.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most famous eyewitness accounts of this sort of event happening, and it was supposed to be like, this ship was like 20 foot long or something, like 20 foot wide, and it was glowing golden and then hovering silently. But I know there was, so right after they had left, they had went back. Like, they called the police and everything. They all went back, and there was a search party for them. And God, what was the certain, like, they said that the men went and they saw these people in orange suits that were like hazmat suits, and no one knew why they were there until the people that were there like walked up and was like, hey, if you like are trying to detect radiation, like, what about the clothes like we had on that night? Like, we were close to that beam of light that shot him. And they were like, oh, really? And they pulled out their hats, their hard hats and everything, and they're like clothes from that night, because they didn't wash them. They just threw them in the back of the truck and were like, screw it. And the people in the orange suits tested, and they were radioactive. There was radioactive material, and I guess they both looked at each other. It was like, awesome, thank you for your information. And then they started walking closer to where they said they saw this disc, and the crew members went over to the sheriffs and were like, hey, who are those guys? Are those guys, like, who are they with? And he was like, who's what with? Or who are you talking about?
Huh.
And they turn around and the people were gone.
How about no?
Yeah, they were completely gone. There was no trace of these guys with these orange suits. Like, only there were some accounts of the people in orange suits walking around, but no one knew who they were, and no one knew where they went, or they didn't see them go anywhere, or anything like that. They just gone. And I think that's probably one of the craziest stories, because he passed a polygraph test. There were some, like, after all of this, where some of them came out and was like, oh yeah, it was all fake, but that was pretty long ago to just come out and say, oh yeah, it was just all fake. And including them passing a polygraph test, that was way before people knew that they could, psych out a polygraph test and produce false positives and stuff. So, they thought this was stone cold hard proof, which I think it is. I think this stuff actually happened. Personally.
I'd agree. I mean, yeah, it's just interesting why do people get abducted? I mean, there's no good answer, but, like, why? Does it go back to the DNA splicing?
Maybe that's the most common, and I think they said that they were doing tests on him.
Well, I guess think about it.
At least Travis, they were doing tests on him, and I think you said something earlier about Betty and, what was it, Betty and Bryce, or Betty and who?
Barney.
Betty and Barney. BB.
Yeah, so think about it. This sounds so messed up. This is going to make you feel really small, and anyone who listens is really small. You know how we are when we go to the zoo?
Yeah.
How they take animals, do studies on them.
That's what they're doing to us. We're just in
what
one
if
big
we're
zoo.
just in a giant cage?
Yeah.
And they're studying us. Like, I've always had this weird little thought when I was a kid that, like, you see the little ants. We look like giants. What if we're the little ants? And there's more giants staring at us being little ants down here.
Yeah.
That's what aliens are doing. They're watching us, like, the UFOs, their little zoo safari cars. Just, look at all the people.
Quick, he's waking up! with a trank dart or something.
Get a trank dart, dude.
Got that 5 milligrams of horse tranquilizer stuck in your system.
Oh, man, I'm so strong.
I'm so strong.
So, does anyone ever have, like, hate airports?
I hate airports. I cannot stand. I've never been flying, but I do not want to go on one.
Dude, airports are freaky. How come every airport there's something freaky paranormal about them? Like Denver's. Oh my gosh, the Denver airport is ridiculous. And now I'm gonna bring up the story about Chicago O'Hare.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, this is close to us Midwesterners. Oh, it's really close. Sorry about that, So Chicago O'Hare UFO was in 2006, obviously Chicago, Illinois. It was November 7th of 2006. Several United Airlines employees saw a gray disc hovering over gate C-17 for about 5 minutes. think about that. I don't know where gate C-17 is, but if you've ever been to O'Hare, there's probably a couple in here that have been to Chicago O'Hare.
I've been to Chicago. I've just never been to the airport.
That's the one I haven't been to. I've been to the Detroit airport and I've been to the Indianapolis airport.
You ever flew?
No. I've never been inside, but I've always been picking people up or dropping people off. But I don't want to fly with how many planes have been dropping out of the sky here lately. I don't want to fly. But just think about that. You're sitting there at a gate and there's this disc flying. It just sits there for 5 minutes, just kind of...
What's going on here?
What?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. And next thing you know, after 5 minutes, it just takes off. And it doesn't go like shoom, shoom to the sides. It goes straight freaking up and makes a cookie cutter hole in the clouds. Literally a circular hole through the cloud where it just shot up.
That makes me think like the gravity and stuff. Like they just, you know, it's more of like a cylinder kind of thing where it's, you know, you have your gravity and then but it's a cylinder, so they can just go straight up. Which, do we have anything that just goes straight up like that?
Other than helicopters, no.
Which I don't even think helicopter, because they still sway back and forth when they're, you know, going up, unless it's like a really windy day, or unless it's like completely silent or no wind, but eventually you hit wind. Like there's wind all over the earth, even though it looks super calm. There's still wind above. Just look at the clouds.
But, you know, so there was a bunch of people who saw this. It happened for 5 minutes. The FAA initially denied it happened, said it was a weather phenomenon.
Good old classic weather balloon.
And they have a bunch of credible witnesses on this. There's many people who...
Were there any pilots that saw this?
Yes. There's quite a few. You got, man, we should have looked some of them up, but if you look at some of the Air Force UFO sightings, I don't argue with the U.S. Air Force.
Oh, yeah. I think there's actually some of them that... Let me see.
There's, like, dude, there's some from over the Great Lakes around here. Like, ships chasing UFOs. Like
yeah.
Air Force chasing UFOs over the Great Lakes and stuff, and they just disappear. And it's so cool. I mean, but I couldn't imagine it, dude. You're sitting at the airport, dude. It makes me not want to go to airports.
Makes me think of that one scene from Top Gun where, you know, that both the F-16, or I don't remember, it was the jet that he was flying. He was flying upside down, and he took a picture of the Russian dude. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, smile, shithead!
Yeah, that's what the UFO was doing on a little safari tour, seeing how we fly. And how archaic we fly.
Yeah.
No wonder planes fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
But, dude, there's some stuff about airports, dude. Paranormal, UFOs, aliens. Denver Airport's notorious for paranormal activity. Chicago O'Hare's got the aliens and the Mothman.
And when was that? That was, here's the 2000s, wasn't it?
2006.
Yeah.
But I've heard some other stuff about other airports. Simulated living.
You just now saw that? That was like forever ago.
You're probably talking about us being zoo creatures.
Yeah.
So
what was that?
I think your significant other is walking by.
Or it's a cat messing with the trash bag.
Either or. And then we've got another abduction story here. I said I am looking at my phone to the person who is making a TikTok about how much of a jerk I am on my phone on this podcast. This is how I'm getting my information. So I'm being honest with you.
We have a list we're trying to, I want to say a script, almost not a script, but a list of documented things. So it's like, we don't forget which ones we're going to talk about this stream. So,
yeah, we're keeping track of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we don't go back into the same thing. It's like, oh, this happened. It's like, oh, you already talked about that.
So we're going to talk about the Pascagoula abduction. Pascagoula abduction, and that was in 1973 in Mississippi, USA, on October 11th. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker were fishing by the Pascagoula River. A glowing egg-shaped craft appeared. This is becoming a more recent thing.
Oh, the egg-shaped? Yeah.
The egg-shaped thing.
Or the long cylinder ships. Like, there's... I don't think we have the story on it, but there's... Oh, gosh, where it was like... I think it was in Mexico, or it was in Brazil. It was somewhere. Can't remember exactly where, but they said the cylinder-like thing fell out of the sky, and it landed in their backyard, and, like, 3 different things came out, and they were, like, slimy and stuff, and there was a soldier or a police officer that had seen it, and had grabbed a hold of it and put it into the back of his car, and, well, I guess there was, like, 2 girls that saw this thing in their backyard and, like, screamed, ran away, went and told their mom, and mom called the cops, and cops came out, checked it out, and was like, oh, yeah, hey, get in the back of the car. But he ended up dying. Later, after that, like, he got severely sick and died. Like, he touched it with his bare hands, and whatever it had on him, it, like, killed him. It sent him into, like, shock or something.
Probably poisonous.
Yeah, it was probably...
Like, we can spread, like, say you're from the United States and you go over to, like, we'll say Japan. A lot of the illnesses that we struggle with over here is not an issue in Japan, but
yeah,
we can get Japanese-based illnesses because our body, and you get really sick when you travel to other countries.
You're exposed to a new atmosphere, you're exposed to new bacteria that you're not used to.
Yeah, so that could be the same thing, but no, these guys, they were picked up by these robotic beings with crab-like pincers. I'm thinking about the robotic Mr. Krabs from the SpongeBob episode. Oh. Dude. But inside, they were paralyzed.
Which, that's a lot of the things, like, people wake up, it's like, what is it? It's like when you sleep and you wake up, but
anesthesia.
Yeah, almost like anesthesia.
Yeah, they put them under, and then they do scans and stuff like that. They're probing. They're alien probing.
I know there's one dude in the chat that likes probing.
Yeah, do you like to get probed, bro?
Yeah.
And then they were just returned. Like I said, they made like buzzing noises. The police left them alone in a room and secretly recorded them, and they sounded terrified and inconsistent. Like, their stories were the same. There was no different story. The police weren't questioning them. These guys were just talking about it and were being unknowingly recorded, which is illegal to do now.
Yeah.
I don't know about back then, but now it's illegal to do. And they were terrified, and based on polygraphs later, Parker, he remained silent for decades. He didn't really want to talk about it, but then eventually he wrote a book. New witnesses surfaced later that saw that light that night. You know, there was people nearby who witnessed it that chose not to speak up. And they said this unique thing that's different from some of the other ones is this non-human and machine-like. And they said that there's a lot of emotional trauma, and it's very evident in the secret tapes and the Years of Silence. Because these tapes are out there now. You can watch them now, but for a long time, no one knew these tapes really existed except for the local law enforcement.
Yeah.
And then obviously the guy wrote a book. So, that's something that's got to be thought about. And once again, they did a lot of scanning and stuff that's very consistent with other abduction stories. A lot of scanning, a lot of DNA messing with.
There's a lot of connections.
Yeah.
And usually it's all the Greys.
Yeah.
Like the Greys are like the most popular. Like that's what people see, and like other than the story I was just telling you about the 2 girls that saw the weird slimy creature. Like, right after that, they think that would have been like a young one, like a super young one, because they said there were other figures there that came out of the ship like 10 foot tall.
It's a baby Gwen.
Like they said that it was peeking over the concrete walls of this neighborhood and stuff, and then they just up and disappeared, and then they said they saw this little creature thing.
I wish you would have had the story, and people argue whether it's true or not, about the family down in Kentucky who had the shootout with the aliens. They went a whole night having a complete literal shootout with aliens.
Really?
Yeah, that is a crazy story. I wish I would have remembered to look that one up. I just remembered it. But yeah, like straight up, this family has a straight up shootout. And it goes from dusk until dawn. They're straight up just firing nonstop. Some of the young kids and stuff are still alive to this day and tell the story. And it's so messed up. We went to war with aliens, bro. Down in Appalachia.
Yeah, it was such a short battle. That's why we made Helldivers.
Squash the bugs, bro.
Squash the bugs.
Squash the bugs.
The damn Tyranids, or what's the other? The Illuminates.
And the Illuminate.
Yeah.
The Illuminate killed our president.
That motherfucker.
So, we're drawing conclusions here that there's some need for the Greys to have our DNA.
Yeah.
Like, are they just studying how we evolved?
Or is it like War of Worlds, where they're not my blood.
They're collecting our blood samples to recreate us. You know.
Now it's just like, well, it's just an immortal being that's like got the personality of that one dude, the serial killer, Dexter. And he's just collecting blood vials, and he's like, yes, I have collected so many people. Dude, or they could be using it for cloning processes, like, maybe they know something that we don't, like...
They could be. The cloning is becoming such an interesting thing now, because it's actually starting to happen. Like, we've seen the cloning of
the dire
wolves.
The one lamb.
They're trying to bring back the mastodons. Stuff like that. Tell me that. So cloning is very possible. We already have artificial insemination.
Yeah.
So all it would take, just splice a little bit of DNA, do the old razzle dazzle Gordon Ramsay in the uterus, and there we go.
Raw.
And we have created a clone human. Or there's been the theory that's gone around, like with the Greys, because the Greys are so interested in male and female DNA, and their specifically reproductive organs. Did they evolve so much that they didn't need to reproduce, and now they're trying to find ways to reproduce because now they don't
maybe their species is dying out, or like they're just that old where they didn't need to do that anymore, or there was some sort of... Wasn't there a thing that there was a reason why they were doing it, and it was because they fought with like the reptilians?
Yeah,
and
their population.
Yeah, they had like some sort of gas that killed off a lot of them, or something on their own planet.
Stuff like that.
Like, because I think the whole story with the reptilian aliens is that they hop from planet to planet.
Our reptile overlords.
Yeah, they hop from planet to planet and do like takeovers and stuff, and that there was just so much war on their original planet that they destroyed it, and they're trying to do the same to every other planet. Like,
and
maybe I don't know. It's all it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy, but think about it. It makes sense. Let's look at the planet Mars. I'd be remiss if we're talking about aliens. There's so much evidence that there was life there before. The only thing that's missing is like structures. So
I think they said that there were structures. They found some sort of
brick water.
They found
a water source. How did Mars become so desolate?
I always thought it was.
But it shows evidence that it wasn't.
I know there's theories of like, or supposed sightings of like them seeing footprints and stuff, like walking up to the Mars rover.
Sasquatch on the moon.
Sasquatch on the moon. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I'm Sassy the Sasquatch.
What are you talking about? I'm sassy.
Sassy the Sasquatch.
But I'm gonna hop on to the next topic.
Go ahead.
That's all right. There's another instance in Suffolk, in UK, actually.
Good eye.
So so I think it's like a U.S. base in the UK, like the U.S. Air Force Base or something.
Kind of.
But during December 26th and 28th of 1980, it's called the Rendlesham Forest Incident, where U.S. Force personnel from the RAF Woodbridge saw lights descending into the forest, and security personnel saw a large metallic triangular craft with hieroglyphic markings, or hieroglyph-like markings, and that the object emitted a bright white light and pulsed red and blue. And there are some key witnesses, like there's a colonel, and this other name called Jim Preston, Peniston, that claimed to have touched the craft, and later he said he received binary messages mentally. How crazy is that? Like, but this Colonel Charles Holt said he recorded a real-time audio of the second night's events, and now has a famous memo, or, it's called the Holt Memo, and it's apparently very famous, and that's who wrote it, was Colonel Charles Holt. And there's physical evidence left behind, like there were tripod markings on the ground where it supposedly sat, where this large metal object, the UFO, sat. And there was elevated radiation readings in the area, and all the audio tapes and eerie captures of lights and the descriptions, and stressed out, like apparently you can just hear them in the background going, what the hell is this? And then so for the government conspiracy part of things, or the government cover-up, the UK MOD and the USAF, which I think it's the US Air Force.
Yes, USAF.
Later stated that it posed no defense threat, and suggested that it was lighthouse lights, and it was the stars, or it was just a hoax, though the explanation has been widely criticized. And the theories are that it could have been some sort of psychological warfare experiment, contact with non-human intelligence, or it could have been time travelers, based on the decoded binary message of that dude that got it mentally, that it was time travelers and shit. And I was like, that's kind of creepy.
Time traveling would be so bad.
Traveling aliens like that, it's very...
Because, I'm going to mention it, somebody was talking to me this week during it, was butterfly effect, dude. Yeah. You time travel, you flick a guy's left nut in the past, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the Americas have Japanese, and we've been taken over, and we no longer like bald eagles, we like rising suns. I don't know, I just
what the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about butterfly effects, like, say you tie your shoe at a specified time, and because you tied that shoe, yes, Mia, it was you that I was talking about this with. Yes, shout out to Mia on the stream. She was the one we were talking about at work with. Dude, think about it. Alien go back in time.
I mean,
kills your ancestors who never existed.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh. That butterfly effects are crazy.
But then that, sorry, that also goes into the whole thing with, like, why would they reappear, Or, the people that get abducted and it's like, I was gone for like 3 years and came back the same day. Or, came back 5 days later, but I've been gone for like 3 months. That's what the whole Travis Walton thing was. He said, oh yeah, I was gone for like a year or so, or 2 years. And then he just popped up 5 days later. Or I think it might have been the other way around, where they were like, he was gone for 2 years and popped up, and he said, oh, I've only been missing for like 5 days. Something like that. I can't remember.
Well, the thing about like time travelers, why they would reappear, is they messed up.
Yeah, they messed up somewhere, and they're recorrecting what they messed up.
Yeah, they're correcting the timeline.
And there's like no way that they can go unnoticed, because it's like, we have to be here at this certain time to fix this mistake, or to rectify this kind of radiation, or
that's that you're trying to undo the butterfly effect that you set in motion when you did that certain thing.
That's all Skynet. It's all
Skynet,
bro.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now.
You have to get the John Connor.
We got to get the John Connor and undo everything we did. Because they're gonna blow up the earth. Come here, John Connor. So they're undoing that butterfly effect, and maybe that's what the aliens are doing. I don't know. I mean,
there's so many different possibilities.
Or they're going to war with the reptiles. We don't know.
Yeah, I feel like
dinosaur overlords.
Dinosaur
subterfuge. If you know, you know. It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about it.
There's a couple more incidents we're gonna get talking about. We're almost reaching the end. We've been streaming for almost 2 hours now. So,
but I'm gonna jump off the tinfoil once we get to the end there. I want y'all to be like, oh my.
Yeah. So there is another instance along the timeline, and this one's for our Australian listeners. If he is even in right now, I don't know.
Good eye.
In Melbourne, Australia, it's called the Westall UFO incident. Back in April 6th, 1966, around 11 a.m., 200 plus students and teachers saw a silver disc-shaped object land in a paddock of behind the school, which the object lifted off several minutes after, and it was pursued by military-style planes. The eyewitnesses described, as I said, a saucer. This one was 30 feet wide, and apparently 3 schoolgirls fainted. And some said men in suits arrived quickly after, and the military cordoned off the area, or quarantined the area, pretty much. Which, there was suppression allegations where reports of the school staff and students were warned to not ever speak of this. Photos and film allegedly confiscated, and no government record, leading to suspicious activity of these men in black. The theories are that, this could have just been a secret military craft, just mass hysteria, but there are too many witnesses. 200 plus, that's a lot of witnesses. And not only students, but teacher, and they all... I don't think they all passed a polygraph test, but I don't think they ever polygraph tested them. And that they think this is a government cover-up consistent with the Cold War secrecy.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is another Cold War, but this is in Australia.
There's some wild stuff about the Cold War if you ever look into it.
Maybe we'll do an episode just leading to Cold War where it's like the... Oh gosh, I don't know if there's a whole lot, but... Maybe we can make an episode.
Networks, the KGB, U.S., double agents. You talk about Lee Harvey Oswald, get into Kennedy. Kennedy was assassinated because I believe it was the KGB and the mafia that was behind the death of JFK. He was not killed. Lee Harvey Oswald was the patsy. Fight me, bro. He was the patsy. He was not the one who pulled the trigger. He just happened to be the setup.
It was aliens.
It was aliens, I'm telling you what.
Let's see, how many more we got? We got one.
We don't have to talk about them all if you don't want to.
We got one more to talk about, and then that's
fair.
it.
That's fair, dude. We've done
which we could go on about the different the most recent ones from like 2020 and up. I can get it back and.
I'm not too worried about it. They know enough stories now. They're beginning to wonder.
Well,
Are there aliens in your walls? Are there aliens in your walls?
There are aliens in my walls. There's aliens
or
in
is
my
it the
walls.
CIA?
Probably
By the way,
both.
this is your local Men in Black message.
If we go missing,
if you keep talking about this,
we're gonna get people knocking on our door. Can we come in? No. No, you may not.
all right, go ahead on that.
Oh, for the next incident?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's called the. Gosh, what's with these fucking names? Loni Zamora. Or Zamora. Probably butchering this name. But it's called the Loni Zamora incident. And it happened in, you guessed it, New Mexico. Super close to Roswell. Socorro. I think that's how you say it. 1964. So April 24th, 1964, police officer Loni Zamora was chasing a speeder when he heard a roar and saw a flame in the desert. I don't know what he's talking about with speeder.
I'm guessing somebody's speeding down a highway and he was
Probably.
doing a traffic stop or attempting a traffic stop.
Yep, and here's the thing. He saw an egg-shaped craft.
That's becoming a more recent thing.
Yeah.
There's more
But this was
stories.
1964.
Yeah, but now,
So
like,
this was like, how many years ago? 50? Damn near?
dude,
More than 60?
I told
70? 80? I don't
maybe George Lucas knew something we didn't know. Because remember, Yoda escapes in an egg-shaped ship.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right. At
Revenge
the
of the
very
Sith.
end of what is it? Attack of the Clones or no?
it's
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah,
Hey,
Revenge of the Sith. He goes up in that weird egg.
dude, I'm telling you, George Lucas, alien, dude. It is. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep. But he said it was landing on struts. That it had struts. It had a version of struts like landing gear, and two small beings were seen nearby. And he said that there was a red insignia on the craft, and that was later admitted into public record, so it's public, you can go see it, because this is a police officer, and the craft blasted off, leaving a deep roar and flame left behind. There were physical evidence of burn marks and impressions left on the ground where this thing sat, and the analysis of all this, there was no motive to lie, he said, and it was respected locally. And I guess I don't know if there's any other accounts of anybody else seeing this, but it's crazy that there's that consistency with the landing gear left behind, the scorch marks, like the most solid UFO, and this is one of the most solid UFO cases.
It definitely is. I think I remember hearing about it. I mean, I listen to a lot of weird podcasts like this, and I think I've heard this story before.
We're a weird podcast.
Dude,
Don't sell us short. We are weird. We're some of the weirdest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, especially when you start this rabbit dive I'm about to go down here in a minute, because I've been having this thrown around in my head.
We talked about the Pascagoula abduction, right?
Yes.
Okay, you talked about that.
Yes.
Which, did you know she wrote a book?
That's interesting.
Yeah, she wrote a book, and
Bob Lazar's got quite a few books out, too.
does he?
Yes. You should look up some of those books and read them. Bob Lazar's got some books.
Give me a second. I'm looking it up for you guys, so you don't have to. So there is an audio biography called Dreamland. It says he's an American conspiracy theorist from 1989, but he's 66 years old. That's how old he is right now.
Dinosaur.
No.
Oh, did I say that out?
He had criminal charges of pandering and trade of illegal goods. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. That don't sound right, actually. That doesn't sound... Maybe that's what they got him on to bring him in.
Yeah, possibly.
I'm guessing.
Oh, man. I definitely... But yeah, he's got books. And he's been to...
And that book, that Dreamland autobiography, that came out in 2019.
Yeah.
And I guess there's another one called the Yellow Book. Or, Yellow Book, History of Aliens on Earth.
Yes, that's the one. No one.
That's the one you know?
Yes.
Like, Bob Lazar was a whistleblower. He was. He really was. There's a couple, and...
He was almost like a... Not necessarily fully, but kind of like an Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
But not as bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why people dislike Edward Snowden as much as they do, because honestly, he was trying to warn us about crap.
You know who else was trying to warn us about stuff? The Mothman.
Dude, Mothman's always trying to warn us about stuff. You've got to listen to the Mothman.
Yeah.
When he's like at you, you need to listen, bro. Listen to the screeches. He's telling you a deep story.
He's telling you life twas. His life story.
He's like, "'Twas a long
Everyone thinks I'm
time
double
ago."
cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon, but I'm not. I'm sad and flat on a Friday.
Poor Mothman. He just wants companionship. He's so lonely, dude. That's why he starts to scare people.
Why does everyone sexualize my butt?
Oh man, dude. I need to go back.
That scared the shit out of me. What the hell?
I need to go back to Point
Damn
Pleasant.
motorcycles.
I need to go back to Point Pleasant and smack Mothman's ass again. It's been too long. Maybe that's why he was trying to warn someone the bridge was gonna fall. His crush was on there, and he just needed to let him know, dude.
He was like, sorry, don't come on this bridge. I'm double cheeked up, and that's why it's cracking.
Dude, my dumpy, yeah, can't hold
It can't hold. This bridge can't hold my dumpy.
No.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man, we just went way off.
Yeah.
Oh, man. There's your humor for your humor for the day. You good over there?
I'm gonna spit out my fucking water.
Like,
Oh.
what do you need for the day, boys?
Whew. My face hurts from laughing so hard.
I'm not laughing as hard as I did yesterday. Oh my gosh, I can't even talk about that on stream. I might get in trouble.
Yeah, don't even mention it. We'll talk about it later.
There was some dude and how he was dressed at Paradise yesterday, and I about fell out of my chair laughing so hard. Let's just say his butt was eating his shorts. He was eating it alive, so you could see something in the front. That's how much it was eating.
You know, they're gonna go back and be like, I was that dude. But, going back to what Dalton said, you think they're Yautja and Xenomorphs in the galaxy?
Why not? Why not? I'm not saying it's exactly like the movies.
It goes back to the whole, you know, if it can't be created,
Yeah.
like
no.
everything that you've seen has been created before, or you have seen it, you can't just make up shit.
There's not even to the people I know that are Christian, nothing new is under the sun.
Yeah.
That's scripture. There's nothing new under the sun. So, mic drop. But no, I don't see why not. Why in human culture are there warrior races? Like the Spartans, the Romans,
I don't think
These
is there
over-
any tales or stories or anything about the Romans or the people seeing anything, because you can connect to the Viking things when they say that, oh, I seen something or something like that to the Nordic aliens as like guiding humanity and stuff, but
well, yeah, but in Greek mythology and Roman mythology, I
guess
guess
you could-
their alien experiences would be like seeing the gods, like that.
and don't they have different names for them? Like instead of it being like Greek gods, it's
Well,
Apollo, or not Apollo, but like Pluto, Mercury.
yeah.
Did they know Like, did they know about the planets at that time, or I have no idea. I'm not really a big history buff.
Well,
Only on war am I a history buff.
Yeah, pretty much the same here. But I don't think they necessarily they knew about stars and how to follow star charts and stuff like that, but they didn't know
Navigation and stuff.
Yeah, they didn't know necessarily planets, but they knew the constellations very well. The gods told them to look. Funny enough, like other alien stories, look at the constellations. That'll help you navigate. They'll help you
look
do
at
this.
the stars.
You'll know what season it is by where this constellation is. You know, these ancient civilizations having this and knowledge on this stuff is kind of interesting. Like, there's no way they could have thought of it on their own.
Yeah.
Like, the Inca could not have built. If you look at it, and I've listened to some people who get into
Mythology.
No, mytholithic structures.
Oh, gotcha.
Megalithic structures. Yes.
Is that like Is that like Asgard
No, that's
or
like,
Olympus?
No, what megalithic structures would be like Machu Picchu.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that. There's no way they could have quarried, because it says where the rocks were quarried from. Just like the pyramids, they were quarried from hundreds of miles away. How did these rocks get on top of this mountain from hundreds of miles?
Yeah.
If all they had was, like, who knows when the wheel, like, they never really proved whether, like, the Inca or the Mayans or anything had, like, wheels.
Yeah.
Or carts or anything. No, the Egyptians did because they had chariots.
Yeah.
But how would they have got those up the mountains?
You would still, like, even if it was possible, you think wood would be able to support all that shit?
No, and you're pushing it up a mountain.
I mean, unless you really have a lot of wood and it's over, like, some super strong wood, I don't think it's possible.
I think they had assistance from...
And there's also a story about how they
aliens.
use sound to move heavy objects.
Yeah.
Like, there's, I think it was a monk or something where they had this long, like, tube, and they were like, wah, 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 and the stone, they picked up the stone and moved it and shifted it. It was really cool how it was done, but it was like
It almost sounded like a didgeridoo.
Yeah, it was almost like a didgeridoo, but it was like a rock like this, like, super tiny. Like a super tiny rock, but could you imagine this, like, times 50,000? Like, how big their stones were and everything? No, I don't think it's possible. But it could be possible if that's what the aliens or whatever taught them. Was like, yeah, you can move this stuff with sound. Here, how about we equip you with this stuff so you can do it?
I mean,
Drops down, just gives native gravity gun or from Gmod or something.
Oh my
the
God.
physics gun.
Drops out of the sky. Dude,
That would be great.
So, as we're getting towards the end here, it's about 7 o'clock. So we know kind of the gist of why the Greys abduct people.
Yeah.
They do it to do DNA and stuff like that. So they're keeping DNA, either one for just collecting DNA to collect DNA, 2, cloning, 3, they're finding ways to splice it with their own DNA for whatever personal reasons they need. Or do you think, and this is where my deep end, we're just going to let the imagination run wild for a little bit. We don't know what's right or what's wrong in this. But we know reptile people are supposedly in our deep state government.
Yeah.
Why? And that's for the United States, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was in other countries as well. And like, so as is the Greys friend or foe? Do, like, because not a lot of people have like bad experiences with them. I mean, obviously some comfortable because
Yeah.
your DNA and stuff stolen. They never necessarily harm somebody. Or
The only thing is that I have a list. I have a comparison table of all of the accounts that we've talked about, and they're all frightened, confused, scared, sincere,
Yeah.
traumatized,
Well,
professionally concerned, witnessed, baffled. Like, there's confusion, shock and awe, fear. That's what we feel when we see these things, because it's not from here.
Which is funny.
And it's hard to fake fear, I'd have to say.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's hard to fake being afraid of something, especially when you've seen something that you can't explain. It's hard to, come up with fear and create that sort of response, because they can do all the tests they want, and you can tell there's certain parts of your brain that light up when you're scared.
Yeah,
when you're afraid. I don't know if they had.
I think it's the left side of your brain begins to
I
become
think
more
so,
active
yeah.
than the right side.
Yeah.
Because you can use 100% of your brain, but not at once.
Yeah.
It alternates what spots the brain is using. Certain emotions and stuff trigger them. But let me play off this. This is gonna be rough. It's interesting because you say, people when they experience aliens, they're terrified.
Yeah.
What is another account that the species appears and it says, "Be not afraid," because
Aliens or angels.
Angels.
Aliens.
Angels repeatedly in the Bible, every time they appear to a human, they have to say,
Be not afraid. It's like that one scene in God, what was it called? It's not called Gravity. It's a movie. It's not Inception. Gosh, I can't remember what it was called. Gosh, I can't think. Keep talking, I'll think of it.
But no, just entertain me for a moment here. So
Interstellar. That's what it's called. Interstellar, where that robot runs up on that. The dad walks out to the fence, and then he gets like tased or something. No. Then the robot crawls up to the window of the little girl and says, "Be not afraid," or "Don't be afraid." And she, ah!
But I'm gonna play. This is gonna be interesting. So if I'm just playing here, so like the Greys are like the angels. They terrify people, but they try to be very gentle. The reptiles are hiding in our government, trying to rule our world. Kind of like they say the devil walks amongst men, trying to convince as many souls to follow him as possible. So what if we are actually witnessing, through people we say are alien and we try to keep them separate, they're the same thing? Maybe. What if they're the same thing? Like, it's just we are now learning what their actual races are. It's not just titles anymore. We're actually learning. And it would make sense because the lizard people are supposedly trapped underground here. When the fallen ones were cast out of heaven, they were prisoned in the earth.
Yeah.
See where I'm going here?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden...
And not only that, what are the one angels? The Watchers?
The Watchers.
So the Watchers that were punished because they were mating with women?
Yeah.
There's another thing, like, they can't breed with themselves, so they have to breed with people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that comes to the problem, and it comes funny because
the bright
not
white light.
all of them were in prison.
Yeah.
Only the ones that did the worst of the worst, like Azazel.
Yeah.
The Watcher Azazel was in prison. Lucifer was supposedly in prison, but it contradicts there because in the book of Job it says he walks to and fro, corrupting as many souls as he can when they ask him what he's been doing. And so what if these reptilian people are what we think are demons? That they're actually the disgraced ones from... And now they're trying to get humanity to... Either the Greys are interfering to try to protect us, and the reptilian people, funny enough, a lot of them pop up when there's evil or controversy in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Like, when Mark Zuckerberg, there was a giant, when they had him in the questioning and all that stuff happened, he was being questioned over Facebook's privacy laws and stuff like that. That's when he started manifesting those eyes and stuff, and, you know, I think Miley Cyrus was in a controversy when those lizard eyes appeared on her.
It was during a concert, I think.
It was during a concert when she was heavy in her controversy. And there's so many other instances of that.
Which, not gonna lie, it could all be fake.
Well,
it could have all been faked. It could have been like, oh, someone put a filter or something. But you've seen the filters now.
Yeah.
Some of them don't look as good as people think. Like, you know, like some of them are highly detailed, but you can still tell it's a filter because they have a weird glow about them.
Yeah.
These ones don't.
No.
They're like,
what?
If it is, they spent at least like they have better CGI than most movies now.
Well, think about it. I'm going to play a little bit more. A lot of those things, like, there was, what is his name? There's a famous ancient aliens dude. It's like Von something, like Von Elric or something like that. And he wrote a book called The Chariot of the Gods. And he was
I think you've told me about this.
And he was talking about how some of the things, like, in the Bible that were interpreted very well could have been modern machinations that they just didn't know what to explain it as. Yeah. Like, they called what Elijah was called up a chariot of fire, was what he was called up in. That could have been a spaceship. And like...
Or like the god Apollo riding around on a chariot of fire?
Yeah.
Or Ra.
Yeah, they're flying on these chariots and stuff in the sky and stuff. Why couldn't it be a spaceship?
And maybe they just didn't have the word for it. Maybe that's just what it translated into eventually was, oh, a chariot. It's something you ride.
Well, it also reminds me of the Chinese lung dragons, where they'd say these dragons would come out of the sky, and then they'd jump back up into the sky and disappear, like the Chinese lung dragon, you know. Funny enough, if you take the word Drake, like a
fire drake or like something
it
from
actually
Ark
is originally where the word dinosaur came from.
Really?
It was drakes and dragons and stuff. That was another to describe dinosaurs. So, we could have... I still think that there's some influence there. And then you think about the stuff about the days of Noah with the giants and the Nephilim and the Anakim and the Raphaim, and I'm starting to... If you're wondering what those are the tribes of the giants that are around in the days of Noah. So if you ever are around me and I'm listening to stuff and you hear those words, I'm listening to stories about giants from the Bible. But the way they describe them is like, yes, they were big, but they were like reptile-like.
Yeah.
A lot of them have these reptile-like images.
And the reptile, at least the reptilians, they're said to be like a little bit taller. They're always taller than us. They're never shorter than us. They've always been told to be taller than us. Like, I think who's the tallest human? Like, there's one...
7'2", I think is the tallest I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But there was
somewhere
that
around
one
there.
record dude from Ripley's. I can't remember his name.
I can't remember what his name is either.
He was almost 10 foot.
I don't know, but they say that that's how big these creatures are. They're like 10 foot, or a little bit lower, maybe like 9 to 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
And that's how they're always depicted. There's never any, line of, oh yeah, I saw this one that's smaller. No, they're always the same size.
And funny enough, they, like you said, if they're like the reptilians, they breed with the daughters of men like the Watchers did. It makes sense why there'd be guys like Zuckerberg and stuff out there and Musk and stuff that look like this alien-like creature. Just think about it.
I guess it's a little too far going with like Elon's an alien or something, but
if you've ever seen him with that photo of him on the beach with his shirt off, dude,
I'll have to look it up.
His body looks crooked. It don't look right. you don't look right in some skin. It scared me when I seen it. It could be very heavily edited.
Or that pasty video of Mark Zuckerberg's jet skiing or some shit,
dude,
where he's all pasty white and it's just him doing this, like.
Dude, but it would make sense because it says we're going back. I'm kind of talking more my belief system. It says that in the end times we're going to go back to the days of Noah. So wouldn't that mean the presence of the fallen angels being back and cross species like that start appearing again?
Maybe.
And by the way, I want to bring up this cool little story since we're talking about bloodlines, because that they say that's my foot sliding on the floor.
Oh.
We're talking about the reptilian people creating bloodlines with humans, creating these hybrid people stuff.
Yeah.
This is rabbit hole stuff. If you guys are like, what is he talking about?
There has been some cases where I guess they've seen reptilians with the Greys. Like, I don't know if the Greys are just liked all around, like all the species just like them, or if they're just a slave race that everyone has or something like that. But like, there's the stories
seem to want to assist us.
Yeah, there's always like the Nordics. They've been seen because they're tall, human-like. They're blue-skinned, blue eyes, like the Andromedans.
Almost reminds me of Dr. Manhattan, almost.
Yeah, like Dr. Manhattan. They usually have like long blonde hair too. But they've been seen with them. They've been seen with the reptilians. They've been seen with the insectoids, and each account is like, oh, that's their bosses, or something like is that, you know what I mean? But. So, King Charles. I'm about to throw the whole Windsor family under the bus. So the Windsors, that's their new last name. They have a different last name. It got changed during World War II, so they weren't associated. Because if you know World War I, it was the War of the Cousins. Tsar Nicholas, the King of England, the Führer in Germany, or whatever he was titled at that time and stuff. They're all cousins. Really?
Yes, they're all cousins. And they talk about bloodlines here. So King Charles himself, who is a Windsor, who's related to all those famous people from Queen Victoria. She's the matriarch of the Windsor family. It's King Victoria, or Queen Victoria, and he claims that they have kept record of his bloodline, and he is related to Vlad Tepes, aka Vlad Dracula.
And I don't think, does this have anything to do with aliens?
Actually, kind of.
Kind of? Okay.
Because if you want to play off the reptilians being fallen angels, this ties directly into that.
Oh, okay.
Go for it. So, when he said that, if you follow Vlad Tepes's lineage, where the title Dracul comes from, it means son of the dragon. And his father had that same title, son of the dragon. If you follow Vlad Tepes's bloodline, and they do keep the genealogy of that family, it is to be found, and you go and predate it to the flood. He is
Are you talking about like Noah's flood?
Yes, the
or Noah's
one thing
Ark.
that everyone can agree with, that there was a massive flood on this earth.
No.
And no one can explain why. But if you go back and predate, he is related to a being, and the way it's titled, I can't remember the name right off my head, but I just heard it like yesterday. It was the name of an angel. It was the name of an angel, and they think that, and this angel was a reptile-like angel that had reptilian features and stuff like that, and they think that's where the title Dracul came from. So they think the Windsor family is descended from these reptile-like beings, or what the Bible would say, the fallen angels and stuff like that. So these bloodlines run prevalent in human society, and it's not just the Windsor family. It could be over in China, it's here in the United States. Tell me there this is not me being political, but tell me why the heck is the Trump family as high ranking as they are? There's something not right. There's a bloodline thing there. That's the same thing with the Rothschilds. There's a bloodline thing right there. There's so much crap there, dude. The bloodlines, and these are the same bloodlines that are running our government. You can. This is where a lot of people are gonna they might lose me, they might not. Republican, Democrat, dude. That's political theater. That's a load of shit. That's how we stay under control. That is how we stay under control. This is how...
Reptile, Republican, oh my god! I'm just fucking with you.
But it's a load of bull to keep us divided, because if we were to get a semblance of not needing, I've been on this mind kick here lately because I see so much division in the United States, not to get political here, but so much division. If we would stop worrying about titles and who's who, and we would band up, we'd tear down the hierarchy. But they keep us divided, and that goes into when we talked about mind control last week.
Yeah.
I think it all ties together, dude. I sound like a nutcase, but I think it ties together.
Now there is something I wanted to touch on that does have to do with aliens.
Go ahead.
But it doesn't really have anything to do with aliens, but it does.
Well, the reason I brought the bloodlines, because I think that does tie. I think the fallen angels, aliens, and stuff tie together so much. Because I think they're the same thing. It's just physical evidence now that we're seeing it.
Okay, so... there is... oh, gosh. I gotta think. So, there's this project...
oh.
Yeah, if you know me, you know where this is going.
I know where this is going. Hey, you got tinfoil caps, guys?
Yeah, put your tinfoil caps on because you're gonna need it for this. You're gonna need it for this. So... there's this project, it's called, and a lot of people, I'm scared to talk about this because a lot of people have talked about this and have went missing, recently and shit. They've gone completely silent, never to be heard from again. But, it's called Project Bluebeam. Has anyone ever heard of it? I'm watching chat right now, so if you've heard of it, you let me know.
Nothing?
Nothing? Come on, where's Dalton at? Where's that energetic young spirit? A no would suffice. But anywho, I'm going to continue going on so I'm not wasting time. So there are 4 steps to Project Bluebeam, which the breakdown of archaeological yeah, that knowledge. Earthquakes would allegedly occur in specific places in different regions, and it would reveal false archaeological. I'm sorry, repeat the question. No, I'm not repeating the question. You're screwed. Go back in the video.
We're talking about Project Bluebeam.
Yeah, Project Bluebeam. If anyone's ever heard of it. But, so they would say, so this hasn't happened, but if it does happen, these are the 4 steps of what would happen. I don't know the time frame the theory was introduced in 1990s. Canadian scientist or investigative journalist discovered these things. His name was Sergey.
Sergey.
Yes, no, not Sergey. Sergey. It was Serge.
Yeah, that's how you say Sergey.
Oh well, Sergey then. Screw me. But there was these. They said that there would be these earthquakes, but they'd be faked. All right, around the world, and these fake findings would aim to discredit major religions and promote a new universal belief system. You know where I'm going with this?
I know what this means. New World Order.
Yep. Not shut up. I'm not hear that part yet. But it would also, so the second step would consist of a giant space show. Have you ever seen the drone shows and stuff? So, and not only that, there's been recent sightings of New Jersey drones. I guess it hasn't been recent, but back
2 years.
Was it 2 years?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was like last year.
I watched Dakota Layden do stuff on it last year and the year before that.
Okay. But it would use these advanced holograms and lasers, which I have seen these big drone shows do, and enormous 3D projections of religious figures like Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad would appear in the sky. These would merge into single entities. Like there'd be multiple, and then they'd come together into one. I don't know how, it would, like, there'd be heretics and stuff to probably not believe this religion, but to, like, common-minded people or something, they'd probably be like, oh, maybe.
The same.
Maybe, but it would merge into a single entity as, like, a new global god, promoting a unified world religion. And the theory claims that this tech uses satellites and projects directly into an ionosphere, which I'm not going to go into ionospheres.
That'd be a long conversation.
Okay, it'd be a long conversation. But if you want more realistic, because as I said, this is from like 1990 and 1996. So it could just do drones instead of satellites and stuff because, drones probably weren't too big. Were there drones in 1996 and 1990s?
No.
Now that I'm thinking about it, there were not.
Machination of the 2010s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so now these drones and shit are doing all this crazy things, like showing indigenous tribes in Africa, showing
us to follow the, if you're a Christian, the Antichrist rhetoric here.
Yeah. But now we're gonna get into step 3, which is telepathic electronic two-way communication. Cell phones, extremely low frequencies, known as ELFs, or very low frequencies, known as VLF, or extremely high frequencies, EHF, waves would beam thoughts directly into people's minds, making them believe their God is speaking to them. And this is supposed to mimic a global religious awakening where people start to be like, oh, my God said this, my God said that, my God said this, and it's like, oh, they all said the same thing. Weird. Okay. Now, we're going to get into step 4. Step 4, supernatural manifestation and a fake alien invasion. A staged alien invasion using advanced military tech and holograms could include holographic UFOs, beam weapons, which we have made beam weapons, we have made laser weapons. There's something called, God, I can't remember.
Railgun.
Well, the railgun, but there's another one where it's an actual, like, beam laser.
Yeah, they've been,
and
call me, I mean...
You're crazy. I'm just going to say it now.
No, I didn't want to sound insensitive, actually. Like, rest in peace all those people who died from that, but the Hawaiian fires over in Hawaii where anything with the color blue on it caught fire.
Yeah, I've never heard that story, but that's very possible.
That they think those fires were started by those laser guns.
Maybe. I know they have shit on ships now, like on battleships and stuff. Yeah, I don't know if they're widely used, but yeah, and going back to step 4, including the holographic weapons of the UFO, or holographic UFOs and beam weapons, fake rapture events to destabilize governments and promote global unity. So what this also means is put the whole world underground into a bunker, nuke the hell out of the surface for a little bit. Not like the old nukes where the radiation would last like 2-3 weeks or months, Yeah. Like stuff that would be gone in a couple days, and just continue to bomb or carpet bomb these places with these bomb shelters and think, oh my gosh, are we winning against this fake alien threat or this alien invasion? Maybe not. But that's. And then when you come up, New World Order. We band together. We won. We won, everybody. We won the fight against the alien menace.
I believe it.
Like, you know what I mean?
I believe it.
It's a super far-fetched theory, because I don't want to say it's real, but I think there has been writings in some sort of CIA or FBI or whatever government conspiracy, or not conspiracy, government files that hint at Project Bluebeam somewhere. But it would also, like the whole thing with the phones and stuff, causing supernatural or paranormal activity to frighten people into submission.
I believe it.
Like, the whole... I'm going to go into some summaries now for people that think I'm fucking crazy. But the goals, according to the theory, are that abolish all traditional religions, establish a new age religion headed by the Antichrist, implemented by a one world order government or one world currency, create a global surveillance state under total control by the elite. And like technology, if you want to know about the technology alleged with the involvement, you ever heard HARP?
Yep.
So the HARP, if you don't know what HARP is, it's a high-frequency active auroral research program accused of weather manipulation and mind control. Chemtrails, yeah. Satellite-based holograms, which I feel like it'd be a hell of a lot easier just to use drones. It'd probably be a fuck ton cheaper anyway. But I bet, there would be some... It'd be like them guys in New Jersey, where they shot down some of the drones. And they were like, whatever, and like military went, picked them up, and never said anything about them. There's a V2K, voice to skull, like the sounds on your phone, like at certain frequencies that you could hear, high frequencies, low frequencies. It all depends on, I guess, how old you are and stuff. If it's if you're super old, it's like super low frequencies, and if you're young, it's high frequencies. So you can only hear them, and your phone is always on you. For one, chemtrails used to enhance projections or behavior control, which I 100% believe that.
Well, think about it. Talk about, you get on the news, you know how much, you don't realize it, but here in the United States we get fed propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly, dude. We are fed propaganda. It is not hard to control a whole populace with just whatever's going on in the news.
Yeah, some people are just blind with it.
That's kind of like the division I was talking about earlier that everyone said I'm just going on a political spiel, but there's rhyme and reason behind it. If we stay divided, we are easily controlled. Yep. And it just is how it is. If there was any sense of unity, and it says in the Bible, and also Abraham Lincoln reiterated it when he was going to run for president, was that a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Yeah.
If you keep us divided, we can't stand up to a tyrannical government, so we are so easy to control. That's why we're going out, and I understand the reasons. I really do. I sympathize with them, and I'm not picking a side, but the riots and stuff here lately, all it's doing causes more division. If we'd all unite as people, stuff like this wouldn't come to happen. But this is not the first time, like literally what that says, that little theory there, is described in the book of Revelations in the Bible.
Oh yeah, it's literally it's a rapture simulator. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's there's a couple different conspiracy theories that if you look them up, if you read them, they're exactly like Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is just what it's been written down to be. Yeah. Like, have you ever heard of MK Ultra?
Yeah.
Where the CIA mind control experiments, or the Operation Northwoods, which is an actual declassified plan involving false flag operations and shit. Yeah. Also known as the Great Reset, as I said, the Rapture Simulator, and alien false flag invasions by like alleged warnings and shit that have happened. It's just insane.
It's the same thing with, I sound crazy, but
We do sound crazy. We sound like a bunch of fucking nut jobs.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I don't care if I sound crazy, but
It's these people. I'm not okay. Not these people, but me and Evan. We're gonna get laughed at for this shit, and then when it actually happens, we're gonna be like, "We were right, motherfucker." You know what I mean?
I think angels and the Greys and some of the aliens are the same thing. Because it says there are species in heaven that we don't even know exist.
Yeah.
But like,
we've only explored 20% of the ocean and stuff, because there's the back to the New Jersey thing, where aliens, or supposed aliens, and the government has said this, have walked into not walked, but flown into the ocean, and they come out of the ocean, then they go right back into it. So maybe there's aliens in the ocean, which that would be I feel like that would be reptilian, but I know there's something else. There's another form of aliens. There's so many different ones. Like, there's not just the ones that I talked about, where it's the Nordics, the Greys, the reptilians, the insectoids, the hybrids, and all that. There are ones that's called, like, the Draconic, which is also another word for some demons and stuff. Like the Draconic, what was it? The Draconic, can't talk. The Draconic Grimoire and shit, where there's a bunch of different, and they correlate with some different religions, and they're all like just shown to be one being and stuff. It's crazy. It is.
Yeah, and they tie together. And
yeah, they
people
all
don't really, like, everyone's saying, well, like, it's aliens, so it should be science, not religion.
Yeah.
I think they explain each other.
Maybe.
I think they explain each other so much. And it would explain the government control that we have, because there should be no reason why some of the stuff that happens in our government is happening. And it's like, dude.
And it's like
a human can't.
Like, you would just think about it, and then it's like, why? What do we have to gain from doing this?
Yeah.
Other than spreading paranoia and, being just seen as warmongers.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like, I don't see this stuff just happening out of nowhere.
No,
there's a reason for it. I mean, I don't know the reason, but there's,
like I said, this is a lot of deep dive stuff. Like, you gotta sit there, you gotta think about it and stuff, because, man...
And hopefully we're opening some of your guys' minds to where it's like, oh, shit.
I'm not saying what we're saying is not necessarily true. But
yeah, it's all a theory. Just letting you know that now. This is all a theory. This may not be true. It's unknown. So don't take our words for it and be like, oh, this is actually happening. No, these are accounts. These are some credible sources that we are pulling from. And if you don't believe it, you don't have to believe it. Be a critic. That's the best thing I can say, is be a critic. Criticize everything you hear. Anytime. Like, just don't blindly follow it.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, don't blindly follow anything. If you know something, criticize it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta use your mind when you're going through stuff like this. You gotta be able to just, like, somewhat discern, use what you know, how you know things, and, apply it to what you do know, and say, does this sound right, or does this not sound right? It makes no sense, or this makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense because of my religious background, and I read the Bible, and then I listened to the accounts of, like, aliens and stuff, and I'm like, man, this correlates.
Yeah.
This correlates a lot. And,
like, we had a conversation back in high school about this, and we were so scared because we had never seen anything put two and two together on any sort of platform or anything like that. Like, we've looked up the chances of religions in this. It's only recently have I seen anything about the Norse gods maybe being called Nordic gods or Nordic aliens and stuff. It's only recently have I ever seen that. Like, last year is how recently I've seen it. And I've not seen any other text other than that referring to the Norse gods as aliens. And that's something strange to me, because I've never seen that.
No, man, it's interesting. It gets my mind going, because it gives, because in a way,
like, you have to keep an open mind about this stuff.
Like, the people that know me very well know I'm a very intellectual mind. To the people at work, I act like a goofball a lot.
You are a goofball.
And I'm totally okay with being a goofball.
But we love you for it.
And I'm never going to change, but I crave intellect on an unhealthy level. And for some reason, talking about these topics makes my brain tick.
Yeah.
And
it gets you stressed out.
It
stresses me out when I talk about this shit.
A never-ending panic attack, but it makes sense because it adds the science to the religion.
Yeah.
It adds the science, like where you say, well, I'll only believe it if I see it. Well, I've seen it now. Just like I was a full-blown atheist for a long time, and then I joined a paranormal team, and then I had something happen to me. I had an experience. So I agree when people tell me, well, I won't believe it unless I see it. Well, you're talking to someone who was that same way. And then I got shown. And I experienced a paranormal experience, got grabbed, and there was evidence that I got grabbed. And then they caught it on the EVP recording, like the talking and stuff. I see, and then I became like, dude, this stuff is real. I believe there's a spiritual realm. I believe that there's multiple dimensions.
Yeah,
I believe that there's a celestial dimension, an earth.
That's another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about was the aliens in the dimensions and stuff. Like there's what's it called, Skinwalker Ranch?
Yes.
Where there's actual like, gosh, I don't remember exactly what it is, but they said portals were opening up.
Yeah,
you could see stuff coming out of them.
So
and there was like orbs of light that would fly through the trees and stuff, and it was like, whoa.
So at Skinwalker Ranch, to the person who's sitting here going, which is my girlfriend, you're talking about skinwalkers. It has nothing to do with actual skinwalkers. It's over in that area by where the Navajo are. That's why they kind of give it that name. But actually, its big thing is UFO events. And they're having them to this day.
And gravitational events, too. Like, there's a lot of different fluctuations in gravity and magnetic, electromagnetic fields where they're like, oh, yeah, we saw this thing this night. And they went out with EMF detectors, and something picked up, and they said there was trace amounts of radiation.
Yeah, they've been
like
finding
purple, pink orbs and stuff flying through the trees that were blue originally.
Like, yes, there's been sightings of spiritual things over there, but their main thing is there's been a lot of UFO sightings. There's been a lot of lights in the skies, the gamma radiation everywhere on the ground for no reason. They have seen what believe is grays walking around in those areas, and so there's a whole show on Skinwalker Ranch. Like, you can look it up. It's on, I think, History Channel. I think
I have no idea.
It's in the Discovery Network, so you can get on Max and watch it.
I'll have to look it up.
But yeah, and there's so much stuff that has to do with.
Get off your phone, Evan.
Sorry, my girlfriend texted me because I just shot a stray at her.
But yeah, with the whole, it's insane. It really is. There's so much different shit that goes on in the world that you can't document every little thing. But there has been documentation cases where you see like an F-16 flying around or something, and they're like following something. And it's going, like, way fast, and it, like, pops up, and then it's like, bye, boom, and it zips off at the speed of Mach, oh my god. You know what I mean?
Not even the world's fastest
Mach
plane.
Jesus.
The world's fastest planes can't keep up with it.
Yeah. Which, okay, so the F-16s, I understand that, like, they can only go so fast, but there are other planes that do go, I do believe that go faster than that.
Yeah,
am I right?
But not that fast. Like, these are snap a finger gone.
Yeah.
Kind of like you're swimming in the water, and like you're next to a fish, and then all of a sudden it's like,
gone.
It's just, you're like, dude.
It's in another, it's like a whole other environment completely for some reason.
Yeah, it's like you don't.
It's like where you're slow. Like we manipulate air and propulsion and stuff like that, where
Basic
their
physics.
stuff manipulates like gravity and can gone.
Yeah,
So-
we're efficient. We're definitely we're a human not in our element.
Literally, they said, "Catch me if you can." Yep.
Yeah, like literally, we're in their element. It's not. We don't belong in the air, and that's why I think planes keep crashing left and right.
Maybe.
Because we don't belong in the air. We belong on Earth. We're earthbound spirits. Genuinely do think we're earthbound spirits. We belong here on Earth. That's why it's funny. If you read the Bible and they talk about new heaven, new earth, it says humanity is going to stay on Earth. There's the catch. We're going to stay on Earth, and God's going to dwell with us on the Earth. So
Yeah.
we are earthbound spirits. Our home is, yes, heaven and earth are now connected, but we're going to be on Earth still, if you believe what the Bible says. But there's your little free fact for the day. I don't know why you needed it or wanted it, but here it is. But that dude, the plane crashes are crazy. But there's so many instances when you get the time, even people out watching this, Google the UFO experiences with military on the Great Lakes.
I could probably pull it up.
Dude, the amount of experiences where the military is going on a wild goose chase with UFOs on like Lake Superior and stuff, it happens frequently. And that there is a Bermuda Triangle over the Great Lakes too.
That's what it says. With the Lake Michigan Triangle being a notable area of interest.
We need to talk about Bermuda Triangle, and there's multiple of them on Earth.
Yeah. It's just the one that's most known is by sea. Like,
Dude,
I forget where it's
you
at.
know what? That makes me want to talk about something else. We can't do it this podcast, but in a future podcast, I want to talk about ley lines.
Oh, yeah, ley lines would be a good one.
Ley lines explain a lot of crap because they're real.
Yeah.
It's not like your longitude and latitude lines on the Earth. No, ley lines is a documented thing of electromagnetic frequencies that go along the Earth. And that means we talk about ley lines. I can talk about the pentagram of blood. I love talking about the pentagram of blood.
We'll talk about that for the next one.
We are going to have to talk about that one in the next one.
Because we have reached almost 3 hours now.
Yeah, we probably should wrap her up.
Yep. Well, everybody's sitting at home watching this. I hope this opens up your mind to new experiences. Hope you go out in the middle of the night, look up at the stars,
Look for aliens.
and wonder. But that'll be all, guys. Thank you for tuning into the Wood Chipper Podcast. We'll be back hopefully next week, and we'll have a brand new topic. And
We may bring guests on. We're trying to decide.
we may bring guests on. We've been talking about having other people on with their paranormal experiences. We just want to make sure that they are good, credible, good and credible, or, But you guys have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.